Fast conditions, fast course, fast competition. We're going to have great times today. There is a new sheriff in town, and his name is Kelvin Kiptum.
Oh, he's gonna crush the world record!
50,000 strong, inspired to set their own records.
4 course records and 1 world record.
We know what it's like to live this dream.
And this is just incredible to see this woman in her second marathon dominate a race of this caliber.
Are you ready to see what you're made of? The Bank of America Chicago Marathon starts now.
As the sun comes up over Lake Michigan, Grant Park, and our beautiful city of Chicago, more than 50,000 runners are preparing to take a 26.2-mile journey that could be life-changing. Hello to you and welcome to the 46th running of the Bank of America Chicago Marathon. I'm Marion Brooks. We're coming to you live from NBC Tower. Joining me again this year, the top race analysts in the country, Ed Eyestone, Carrie Tollefson, Amanda McCrory. You know, we had an amazing, thrilling race last year, but unfortunately, 2 of our champions will not be back this year, and it's because of circumstances that could not be more stark. Kelvin Kiptum sadly passed away, and Safan Hassan, on the other side of the coin, won gold at the Olympic Marathon in Paris. So this year, we're going to have 2 brand new champions and in the men's and women's professional race. So, Ed, who are you watching?
Well, who am I not watching with 7 men who have run 2:05 or faster? I think many of these men come in because they were left off their Olympic team. They have a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, so we're going to have some great competition. Berhanu Lagasse, probably one of the top Ethiopians to watch.
All right, Carrie, the women's champion is coming back. Not last year's champion, but the year before. Ruth Chepngetich is always in the mix.
Ruth Chepngetich is always in the mix. She was second last year, but has won here in 2 different times, in 22 and 21. So we have to give her the nod.
All right. And Amanda, we have 2 Paralympic champions as well as our Chicago champions coming back. They got that Paralympic hardware coming in. So I know we'll be watching them.
4 of the 6 Paralympic medalists in the marathon are actually going to be racing this morning. But of course, we have to mention Marcel Hug and Catherine de Bruyne, defending champions, won here in 2023, and both of them set course records as well.
It's going to be great to watch. All right, let's head out to the start line where our Alex Maragos is standing by with the executive race director who puts it all together, Carrie Pinkowski. Alex.
Good morning, Marion. Carrie Pinkowski's been putting this together now for 34 years in Chicago, making it a world-class marathoning city. Carrie, happy race day. Good morning.
Good morning, Alex. How are you?
I'm great. What keeps you coming back, getting up in the morning? Because you work on this year-round for 34 years. What keeps you coming back?
You know, it's the people that we've gotten to meet over the years. I mean, there's over 50,000 participants this morning. They come from all across the country, all around the world. The relationships that you make, some of the elite athletes that we've worked with over the years, they've become great friends and ambassadors for us. But it's just about the human spirit. We've got so many people that have come here for so many different reasons to discover themselves and discover the city of Chicago. So I'm excited like it's the first one. It's gotten much bigger and more elaborate, but it's still at the core. It's a celebration of humanity. Excuse me.
I think nowhere is that emotion more evident than at the start line. Oh, sure. The amount of the anticipation, it's hard to even describe to you folks at home, the excitement of everybody training months to get to this exact point.
Absolutely. It's an amazing ecosystem. I mean, it's months and months and miles of training, and it all comes to fruition today. The planning, the partnerships, everything that goes together. Chicago is the greatest event city in the world, and this is apparent if you look at what the events that go on here. We're just looking forward to a great day in the greatest city in the world.
And I'll say Chicago is showing off today. You've got the weather that you pray for on your knees 365 days a year.
Right. We got some cloud cover. It's nice and cool here at the start. So we're looking for some great performances. Everybody having a safe and wonderful day.
And the elite marathoners tell us they come here because it's fast. Are you looking for good times today?
Well, you know, Kelvin Kiptum put us front and center. Safan Hassan last year, they proved you can go very, very fast, historically fast here. So we've got some young, talented athletes, some experienced athletes. Let's make for a great race on front.
We'll see you at the finish line, Kerry. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Alex.
We're going to send it on down to the finish now, where Stefan Holt is waiting for us, where all those runners will be crossing in just a couple hours. Stefan?
Couple hours. We're ready to go, Alex. Welcome to the finish line. We're here on Columbus between Roosevelt and Balboa, affectionately known as Mount Roosevelt, where the road goes right over the Metro tracks towards the finish line here. From the best of the best to the novice runners who are running marathons for the first time, this is the goal. This is the destination they want to reach at the end of today. Of course, it's not about the destination. It is the journey arriving here. And for your efforts of that journey, this is the reward here. This is the Bank of America Chicago Marathon for 2024. This year, instead of the skyline, they featured the iconic view down Columbus Drive, the starting line there. There's the BP Bridge coming over from Millennium Park, the 4 stars of the Chicago flag as well. This is what all the finishers will receive when they cross that line. Some of these finishers just want to finish. That's all they want to accomplish today. Others looking for their personal best. Everyone here with a different mission, maybe for charity. Everyone has their own reason. Now it's about putting their training and their persistence to the test to see if they have what it takes to finish here in Chicago. Marion and company, we'll send it back to you.
All right, thanks so much. It's always great to hear some of the stories of the reasons why people are out there. Well, as you know, this is an Olympic year, and for professional runners, the timing is definitely impacted. So, Ed, we have to say congratulations to you, because 2 of your runners did quite well at the Olympics this year.
Yes, the road to Paris actually began here in Chicago last year when Connor Mance and Clayton Young were the top Americans and punched their ticket time-wise to make it to the Olympics. And then in Paris, they finished 8th and 9th. Anytime you finish in the top 10, you got to feel pretty good about yourself. Chicago, we thank you.
And congratulations, Olympic coach Ed Eyestone. And Carrie, what does this timing mean to the field typically?
Well, after an Olympic year, we were wondering who was going to come, and Kerry Pinkowski and his team always bring such an amazing field together. We will not see Safan Hassan, though. Safan won the Olympic gold in Paris, so we're hoping she's on a really good break, but we know her better. She's probably running and running and running.
Probably. It was great to see her win that gold. It was a tough one, too. All right, now, Amanda, we do have Paralympians that are here, so the timing isn't quite the same for wheelchair athletes. Can you explain why that might be?
The recovery is a little bit faster for wheelchair athletes because wheelchair racing isn't as high impact as running, and definitely not as high impact as running on the road. But that doesn't mean that these athletes aren't still carrying a lot of fatigue and a lot of mental exhaustion from a really long season. But I talked to a lot of them, and they said they couldn't miss Chicago, even though it's been a really long season, but they are looking forward to wrapping up, taking a break, maybe even getting a vacation in.
Maybe. That'd be great to see for them, but we're glad they're here for sure. Well, as always, we have great folks here in studio, but we also have great representation on the motos in the field. 2005 Chicago champion Dina Castor and 2017 champion Galen Rupp. They're standing by with Alex Maragos at the start line. Hey, Alex.
Hey, Marion, they know what it takes to run and they know what it takes to win. Both of these past champions here with me, Dina and Galen. I'm going to start with Dina here. They were just talking about Safan. We don't have her back this year. We hope to see her in future years, of course. Who will you be watching on the motos this year on the women's side?
We're not lacking for talent, that is for sure. With picture-perfect conditions, we are on world record watch, course record watch, American record watch, and Masters American record watch. It's been confirmed that these athletes are ready to go. Ruth Chepngetich going for a 3rd win here, and Situme Kebede of Ethiopia is the fastest time in the world this year. She's not going to make it easy on Ruth.
Oh, it's going to be a blistering fast on both the women's and men's. Before we talk about the men's side, Galen, I want to ask, what are you thinking about watching the race this year as opposed to running, of course, our 2017 champion here?
It's a lot less stressful than having to race, I can tell you that. It's been nice to just enjoy the weekend and see the marathon from a totally different perspective.
And when you get to the start line and you're in that elite mentality, what are the final things that you're thinking about when you literally are ready to lead this whole thing off?
For me, I'm really just taking a deep breath, going over the race strategy and making sure that, I'm clear on what I need to execute. But the marathon's a long way, so it's all about relaxing and really trying to calm those pre-race jitters before the race gets going.
All right, and really quick, 3 quick names you're looking for.
I would say 3. Berhanu Lugesi. He's got the fastest time on paper. It's been a little bit of an up and down last 4 years for him, but Little Bird told me his training's been going well, so I think he's going to be up there. Amos Kipruto has been so consistent and probably had the best build-up and looked the best as far as races. He's another name to watch. And then Daniel Abenyo. This will be his first marathon, but he's a silver medalist in both the World Half Marathon Championships and the 10K on the track. He's got the most speed, and if he's there with 30 or 35K, could be fun to watch.
All right, Galen and Dina, thank you both so much. And of course, we know there is one runner who will be sorely missed this time around in the Chicago Marathon.
You are so right, Alex. We want to take a moment to remember that man, Kelvin Kiptum. He was our 2023 champion. He is certainly on the mind of many on this day. Kelvin hit the start line full of promise. He had the fastest marathon debut in history in Valencia in 2022, breaking that course record. He followed up with the win and course record in London the next spring, and then smashed the world record in just his third marathon here in Chicago with a time of 2 hours and 35 seconds. The world was in awe and couldn't wait to see what he'd do next. Sadly, though, we lost Kelvin and his coach this past February in a car accident in his native Kenya.
The splits of what he ran in the race, especially the last 10 to 12K of the race, it was just like incredible, and my mind can't even comprehend what he was doing and how fast he was running.
It was pretty special seeing him come down Michigan Avenue just flying.
Kevin has incredible career, and he was almost a super person.
ጥሩ ሰውና በጣም ሶሻብል የሆነ ሰው ነው። በጣም የሚቀርበን ልጅ ነበርና
Kelvin Kiptum of Kenya.
It was a sad news. It was a devastating news.
I still miss Kevin. I know he could have done great things.
He's 23 years of age. We have a future.
I think he had such an incredible, bright future. But I think that he's shown us what everyone is capable of. So I think we can take his inspiration and hopefully use that to empower each of our races. But yeah, he is sorely missed.
A great day down here at the finish.
He is certainly missed. An amazing legacy at such a young age. Kelvin Kiptum, gone too soon at the age of 24.
The Bank of America Chicago Marathon on NBC5 is brought to you by Bank of America. What would you like the power to do?
We are here at the start line once again with Bank of America Chicago President Rita Sola-Cook and her daughter Scarlett here with us today. Rita, happy race day. How's it feel to be at the start?
You know, it's wonderful. As a Chicago native, I love this weekend. We get to welcome 50,000 runners on a 26.2-mile running tour of 29 of our neighborhoods.
And it's personal for you. Your dad, your husband's running today, Randy.
He is. He's completing the Bank of America Chicago Distance Series. Starts with the Shamrock Shuffle, the 13.1 on the west side, and all culminates here at the Bank of America Chicago Marathon.
It's going to be a great day. Thank you, Rita. Thank you, Scarlett. Marion, back to you.
All right. Thanks so much, Alex. You know, the Bank of America Chicago Marathon is one of the most prestigious races, a favorite for runners all over the world. Real quick here, Carrie, what is it about it that makes it so special?
Fast, fast, fast. Everyone wants to run fast here.
Absolutely. All right. We've got to commemorate our country. We're going to send it down to the start line and hear the national anthem. This is going to be performed by Emmitt Smith from Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. They're right here in Chicago. Let's listen in.
To perform the national anthem, please welcome Emmitt Smith, currently on stage at the James M. Nederlander Theater as Albus Potter in Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, and American Sign Language interpreter, Carrie Siegel.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Our national anthem sung by Emmett Smith, who plays Albus Potter in the touring production of Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, now playing at the Nederlander Theater. Hi, everybody. I'm Stephen Holt, back here at the finish line, just a few blocks away from the start, where those runners will lead off in just a little bit. From Grant Park, they will take an incredible journey through some of the most iconic and recognizable neighborhoods in the city of Chicago.
The 26.2-mile course the 50,000 runners will follow for the 2024 Bank of America Chicago Marathon starts, as always, in Grant Park. They will head north past the NBC Tower before turning back towards the Loop. Another turn takes the runners north again, this time on LaSalle, where they will enter Lincoln Park at the 5-mile mark and head all the way up to Sheridan Road, the northernmost point of the race. Coming back south, the course goes through Lakeview, Lincoln Park, and into the Loop, which marks the halfway point of their journey. After heading as far west as Damon, the course comes back east before heading over to Taylor Street and Little Italy. Soon after, they will pass the 19-mile mark. Next, the athletes will turn south again on Wentworth as they enter Chinatown. After going as far south as 35th Street, it's back up north. And when runners get to the Bank of America cheer zone at mile 26, they will head up Mount Roosevelt and complete the final 0.2 of a mile before reaching the finish line back in Grant Park.
So, Marion, there you have it. That's the course. Chicago appears ready to run. Back to you.
It's a good way to see the city, I think. Thank you so much, Stefan. Well, we're just minutes away from the start of the wheelchair races. So, Amanda, let's talk about some of those top contenders. We always have to start with the silver bullet, Marcel Hoog.
You can't talk about the marathon distance without talking about the world record holder, Marcel Hoog. He's going for his 5th win here in Chicago. He won in 2022. He won in 2023. He set course records at both. And he is the Paralympic gold medalist in the marathon distance. But he's going to have some competition. The U.S.'s Daniel Romanchuk is a 3-time champion here in Chicago. He's raced 5 times. He's never finished lower than 2nd. And he handed Marcel Hoog his first defeat in nearly 3 years on the track in Paris in the men's 5,000 meter. And Daniel's training partner, Aaron Pike, also deserves a mention. He was 4th here last year. He's got a pair of 3rd-place finishes from 2021 and 2022. He came home from Paris empty-handed, and he is hungry for a podium finish.
All right, let's talk real quick about the women's side, too. Catherine DeBrunner is our returning champion, and she seems impossible to beat.
She has been so strong this season. Gold in Paris, won in Berlin just a couple weeks ago. Set the course record here in 2023, but Susanna Scaroni is going to give her a run for her money as well. She was bronze in Paris. She was 2nd last year by just 2 seconds, and 2nd a couple weeks ago to Catherine in Berlin.
All right, and so we're getting there. Let's get to the start line for the beginning of the men's wheelchair race. It begins right now. There's Marcel Hoog right there.
Wheelchair competition has just
and they
started.
are off. All right, so who else with the women are you watching?
Always have to watch Manuela Schar. She's a 2-time champion here in Chicago. She won the Tokyo Marathon in March, and she just missed one of those podium spots in Paris with a 4th place finish. And you have to mention Tatiana McFadden. 9-time Chicago Marathon wins, and they call her the GOAT. She truly is. She became the most medaled, most decorated American track and field athlete of all time in Paris with 22 Paralympic
That is amazing. And you also have one other man that you wanted to mention.
I think the dark horse on the men's side might be Tomoki Suzuki. He surprised a lot of people picking up the silver medal in Paris in the marathon, but that course is a lot different than Chicago. Very hilly, very technical. We'll see how it translates.
All right, let's see the start of the women's race. And they are off as well. All right, it's always exciting to see the beginning of the races. So you can see it's a little overcast there, which is what the runners like. Weather is always so important on race day. So let's get a check of the race forecast from meteorologist Pete Sack. Pete?
Marion, we have the overcast conditions out there. We have temperatures around the 60-degree mark, and so far, light breezes across the area. However, we are going to be looking at those winds picking up. But as you can see, it is a very nice start to the race as far as the weather conditions go, with temperatures in the upper 50s to around the 60-degree mark, and so far, light breezes. But as I mentioned before, we are going to be looking at those winds picking up. But across the area right now, we're looking at a very nice, quiet start. And some of those thicker clouds might produce a sprinkle or a little light drizzle, at least for the next maybe hour or so before these clouds begin to thin out later on this morning. Let's take a look at what's going to be we're looking at on Live Doppler 5, because again, we're looking at nice quiet conditions, no rainfall across the area, and it looks like that's going to be the case as we go through the remainder of the morning. Live Doppler 5 showing quiet conditions over the city, and the rest of the area, a little bit of ground clutter showing up here. That's not a concern as far as the precipitation goes. Again, perhaps just a sprinkle on the way. So let's take a look at what we can expect here on Stormcast, and we are looking at the prospect of, again, just a sprinkle or a little bit of light drizzle over the next hour. The cloud cover is going to remain for a couple more hours here. That's going to begin to thin out in an hour or two. But the bigger story, these northeasterly winds are eventually going to turn out of the north and west, and especially once we get into the late morning, afternoon hours, we're going to be looking at wind gusts approaching the 20-mile-an-hour mark. So the runners coming up Columbus Drive, heading toward the lakeshore, heading toward Grand Park, rather, going to be encountering some gusty conditions. Marion?
Oh, that's not what we want to hear, I'm sure. Thank you so much, Pete. Ed, what do you think about what you just heard for the runners?
Temperatures right now, pretty good. High 50s. I think the professional runners are going to be just fine temperature-wise. And cloud cover, that's good. It's going to keep the sun, the radiant sun, coming down. What I'm concerned about is that wind coming from the north. That means they'll be battling that the first 8 miles and the last 3 miles. As long as the wind stays down, I think we're going to have some fast times.
All right, we shall see. All right, now we're going to hear, as we get ready to get to the start for the professional athletes, we're going to hear what some of them are feeling like at the start line moments before the race begins.
Some people ask me if I'm still nervous before a race, and I can tell you yes.
The start line of the race, tension is so high. It's not easy.
They get the Michael Jordan or the Bulls theme song going, then things start to settle down. I know the gun's about to go off, and
I have a lot of chaotic energy, so I try to seek out people that also have that same energy, so I just like to laugh and giggle.
It's kind of chaotic, but also feels really, really calming at the same time. It's just this unique blend of emotions that you don't really experience in anything else.
I am so emotional on a start line. I think every single marathon I've done, I cry. I'm just really proud to be standing there. And among like 40,000 plus other, like being with your community, it's electric.
50,000 of your best friends right there with you. I love that. I can't imagine what that feels like. All right, Ed, let's get jumped right into the men's professional standings. Who do you see and who do you like?
Well, you always have to give props to the man with the fastest time in the field. That's Berhane Legacy from Ethiopia. He has run 2:02.48, sixth fastest time of all time, two-time winner of the Tokyo Marathon and coming off of a very fast half marathon recently. A guy who will chase him from Kenya, Amos Kipruto. He is Mr. Consistency, 4 podiums at World Marathon Majors of London, Tokyo, Berlin. He's a bronze medalist at the World Championships. He should be good for the fight. And then a new guy, Daniel Ebenyo. He's a track guy who's converting over to the marathon. It's his first marathon that he's run. He's debuting, but he's won the Kenyan 5K championship 3 times. He's a world cross-country champion, finishing in the top 6 of the World Cross Country Championships. When you combine cross-country and track, you get great marathoners.
Oh, it's going to be fun to see how he does. All right, so we want to talk a little bit about the American men in just a little bit, but we also have mentioned a few times that we have lost Kelvin Kiptum, and he's an inspiration for all of us. We want to go to the start line because there is a plan to honor him with a moment of silence.
On October 8th, 2023, Kelvin Kiptum captured the attention of the world, finishing the Bank of America Chicago Marathon in 2 hours, 35 seconds, setting the world record in the marathon and becoming the first person to run under 2:01. On February 11th, 2024, the running world was shocked and saddened by the tragic passing of Kiptum and his coach, Haki Jamanza. Please join us in a moment of silence as we recognize these two individuals who made a lasting impact on our sport.
Thank you. We are now 3 minutes to start the race.
Help but think about Kelvin Kiptum on this day. He should very well be at this start line. He's so missed. And
such a devastating loss to his family and friends and to the sporting world at large. He was set to take over the mantle of Eliud Kipchoge in setting the world record, the first man under 2:01. He would have been the first man under 2 hours. Just a tremendous loss for us all. For over the next decade, he would be the dominant figure.
Carrie?
We loved to get to know him too last year. We had so much fun, and you could see the athletes. Just it's heavy right now. A lot of athletes running for him. We'll miss him.
Yeah, Amanda, what are your thoughts?
A huge loss personally and professionally from someone who was likely to rewrite the history books and change the future of marathon running.
No doubt about it. And he is honored as well on the bibs. There is a marker to honor his legacy as well. All right, going to switch gears now and get a look at what the thoughts are on the women's side. Ruth Chepngetich is always in the mix, isn't she?
Yeah, well, second last year, won here twice before that. She's number 4 all time. I mean, she hasn't had quite the spring that we normally see her coming into this race, but maybe that's okay, the hunger and the drive. But I think she's going to have some competition. So Tume Kabete, she's a woman that did not have the race she wanted here last year. She was 15th here, but she is the world lead right now. She has the world's fastest time, and she's talking about that world record today. So we're going to have to see it. Yes. Joycelyn Jepkosgei is another athlete that I'm talking about right now. She is someone that really is okay with not having the attention, but her training partner, Betsy Sena, is in the race as well, and they are so excited to go out here and run fast.
All right, the American women are actually looking pretty good, speaking of them. They're strong in this race, including in the pack, Kira D'Amato, who was on the Demoto last year. For us, she's running this year, and her coach, her brand new coach, is Ed Eystone. How's she looking?
Well, Kira, we talked, and she decided in late springtime she needed to sample altitude a little bit. So she's been out of Utah up at Park City. She's been such a delight to work with, a real workhorse. We're really looking forward to a good run from her. If she can run close to that personal best, then the American record will be in sight.
All right, and who else are you looking at, Carrie?
Well, as mentioned, Betsy Sena, fastest time for the Americans this year, but also Emma Bates and Sarah Hall. Emma Bates was second here in 2022, and also Sarah Hall was third here that year. So those two coming back after being second and third here already, they want to come back and run fast as well.
That makes you kind of hungry, doesn't it?
It does, and I love that the Americans are excited about going after and racing really fast times.
I love it too. Well, the elite field is obviously quite strong. We could see some breakout stars this year, which would be kind of fun. And then for the everyday runner, no matter what the reason or what the goal, it's time to get started. Let's get right to the start line for the running of the 46th running of the Bank of America Chicago Marathon. All right, what are you feeling, Ed, as you start to just kick right off that start line? Where's your head in this moment?
I'm feeling like a coach right now because I just started my stopwatch. So if the official timing goes down, I have my stopwatch here. But, as an athlete, you are just so excited for that gun to finally sound. You're trying to go over your race plan, and then you should be feeling good in this first mile, right? And the problem sometimes is just going out too fast, so you're trying to hold yourself back. And then you always should have kind of a grateful heart, grateful for all those positive enablers who have made the sacrifices for you to be there and to run at your very best.
We're taking a look right now, too, at the Pacers. Tell me a little bit about what the Pacers mean to these runners, why they're important, why they're there.
Well, so many of the Pacers have that certain pace that they're going out to run. The athletes can kind of have a sense of relief knowing that they're going to take charge for the first initial, well, actually, it's about 30K is where they're going to go through. So they can just kind of breathe and let them do their job. All of the athletes know the different paces. And they also, some of them have their own personal pacers that they've been training with.
Oh, okay, now let's take a look at the wheelchair. Look, Marcel Hoog looks like he's right in front. We always know him from his shiny silver helmet. That's why they call him the Silver Bullet. What What came first, the name or the helmet?
I think the helmet. So I've been racing for a long time, almost as long as Marcel Hug has, and as long as I have known him, he has had his silver helmet. So I think the helmet came first, and then the name followed.
All right, is that Daniel Romanchuk next to him?
That's what I was going to say, right there up with him. I talked to Daniel and tried to get a little bit from him about his race strategy and his plan, but he always holds his cards really close, and he never wants to tell me too much. But he said he expected Marcel to go out hard, and he was just going to do his best to hang in there and react to him. I think he's got a little bit of confidence after beating Marcel on the track. He knows that he's got the speed. He knows that he can hang in there. You see him looking over his shoulder, checking to make sure Marcel is still back there behind him. But they look comfortable. They've got a little bit of a gap. They're checking right now to see if anyone is close to closing that. But otherwise, they're just going to hang on to this pace, and we'll see later on if they start playing with speed a little bit.
Now, I know that Daniel just got married recently, too. How's that going to factor into his performance, do you guys think? I don't know. I mean, I don't know him well.
I just think he is so happy.
He does seem very happy.
Do all the things.
He is all business. He told me his wife, Hannah, she's a teacher, but she actually got to come to Paris and watch him race.
Awesome.
They haven't had time for a honeymoon yet because he got married and went straight to the Paralympic Games. So he said in December they are spending some time in Tennessee.
Nice.
They're going to have a little post-marathon season vacation. He's really looking forward to that break, like so many of the athletes are after a really long season.
Oh, yeah, they have had a long season, and some of them just competed recently in Berlin, didn't they?
That's true. And Catherine de Bruyne, who we see now, just won the Berlin Marathon. She came out of Paris with a gold medal, won Berlin, and before this race, Susanna Scaroni told me that she and Catherine de Bruyne had talked about going off hard at the start and trying to break away. Early on, Susanna had started to pull away, but it looks like Catherine de Bruyne is now out on her own with no one else in sight.
She is such a beast, man, isn't she?
This is what we have been seeing from her race after race. She has a speed, she knows what she is capable of, and she is not afraid to start out hard and make people hurt early on.
Ooh.
She builds that gap, and she can hang on to a high percentage of her max speed for a long, long time, and so far no one's been able to close that.
Yeah, she's got a tactic that seems to be working. All right, let's check in with the men's elite runners. We're looking at the pacers right there. Do you guys have any what are you seeing about form? You got any thoughts, Coach Ed?
Well, it's kind of interesting because we've got the two rabbits who are pace setters in the white singlets, and then I believe that's John Korir, the two-time LA Marathon champ, is just tucked in right behind him, and then we Japanese runner, I believe that might be Tatsuya Muiyama from Japan, who's a 2:07 marathon runner. So right now, I would say that they're running probably sub-maximal. The fact that the Japanese runner, who's a 2:07 guy, is hanging with the guys that are 2:02, 2:03 guys. But again, in the first miles, you want to feel very, very comfortable, and they're looking very good right now. And all the main players are in place.
Okay. We'll be watching. This is just the beginning. We don't see all the tactics just yet, but there is such amazing strategy, right, Carrie, when it comes to the marathon?
Oh my goodness. Be careful early on, stay patient, think about your strategy, and have some fun.
All right, let's take a look at our drone shot if we can, because we always love to see the perspective from the sky. And our drone footage is sponsored by Abbott, Life to the Fullest. Don't go anywhere. The Bank of America Chicago Marathon continues right after this.
The Bank of America Chicago Marathon on NBC5 is brought to you by Abbott. Life to the fullest.
So in 2021, I ran. And then the last 2 years, I've been part of the NBC broadcast team on the lead female vehicle. So I was Kira D'Amato on D'Amoto. And it's a ride. Like, it was a bucket list thing for me to be in a sidecar. So I feel like I've checked that off, and I'm hoping to be back eventually, but have some unfinished business. Yeah, my coach, Coach Ed Eyestone, is on the broadcast. So he'll have, I'm sure he'll have some hot takes for you.
Oh, yeah, we're expecting some hot takes throughout the women's race as we watch Keira D'Amato do
I can
her
be
best.
completely unbiased.
Of course.
But she is a wonderful person, and she's trained very hard for this, and it'll be fun. She's approaching 40. She'll be 40 in a couple weeks here. So the fact that feels like she's still primed to run a personal best, I think, is a great tribute to the work ethic that she has.
She calls you Easy E. Are you easy on her?
Easy E? Yeah, I don't know how I picked that nickname, but it's I embrace it. Maybe it's because of my rapping ability.
There you go. Yeah, there you go. I'm impressed that you know that Easy E was a rapper. All right. Well, the 2024 Bank of America Chicago Marathon is underway as the professional field clearly has left Grant Park. They are now, I believe, on State Street. That looks like it might be State Street. Let's check in with Galen Rupp, who is following the men's professional field. Galen.
Yeah, it's been a great start. The Pacers got out quick, but it seems like the lead group is really settling in well. John Korir got right behind the Pacers from the start. He looks very comfortable and very definitive. He was real decisive getting off the line and getting right behind them to sit behind, let them block the win. Kipruto and Abenya have really looked comfortable to me. Their mouths are barely open. They're breathing through their nose a lot. I think that they look super comfortable in the pack right now, just biding their time and really conserving a lot of energy early on, which is what you want to do in a marathon.
Sounds great, which is actually consistent. Right now, the ones you were watching, Ed, the ones Galen is watching are where you would expect them to be, I imagine. Yeah, well, and Benyo, the fact that this is his debut, obviously you don't want to make any mistakes, so you're just happy to ride along in that pack. And being an accomplished 5K and half marathon runner, this pace is going to feel comfortable for him. And what you can do is make a mistake because the pace does feel comfortable and go out too hard. So the fact that Benyo's just riding in there, I think that's a great tactic. He's talked to, he probably has a good coach telling him to just be conservative, and then finish strong. Use that 5K speed at the end of the race. All right, now let's check in with Dina Castor, who is in front of the professional women's field. Dina.
Oh my God, if this was ever a hot race, I can literally wave to Galen on the men's lead vehicle. We are that close. The men just made the turn. The lead women are just about ready. Ruth Chepngetich came here to make a statement. She does it every time. It is classic Ruth Chepngetich. Just flawless in her stride. Off of her shoulder is Joycelyn Jepkosgei about 10 meters back, and 10 meters beyond her is Situme Kebede of Ethiopia. These women came here and they mean business. It is congested, it is loud, and my gosh, they are making a statement very early on in this race.
Dina, I love your energy. Keep it up. All right, let's check in with the women's wheelchair. Apparently, Catherine DeBrunner has really extended the gap here. Amanda.
We have seen this so many times from Catherine DeBrunner. This is her move. This is her bread and butter. It's what she does. She goes out hard and she builds that gap. I was talking to Susanna Scaroni, and she told me she was hoping that she could stick with her, but she really thought that this might be a race for second place because Catherine DeBrunner has just been so strong. And this is incredible because she raced every distance in Paris from the 100-meter through the marathon and won a medal in every single one. So if you're talking about versatility and just like the peak level of strength and fitness, there is no one who can touch Catherine DeBrunner right now.
Well, she did say she was a little tired too, but she doesn't look it.
She doesn't look tired at all. 5 gold medals, silver in the 100-meter, and this is the same move that she pulled in Paris. She went out hard from the start, and then no one could touch her.
All right, let's worry about the 10K with the men's race. Let's take a look. What do we see here? Oh, they're still together.
There have been a lot of lead changes, and so the last time we went off, Tomoki Suzuki actually pulled ahead and dropped Daniel Romanchuk and Marcel Hug. They've been hit. Here he comes right now up the outside. That's Tomoki Suzuki, the Paris silver medalist. Daniel Romanchuk in the red behind him, then Marcel Hug, and then in the back with the white helmet, that's the U.S.'s Aaron Pike.
All right, the people you talked about. All right, as we take a look at our beautiful city of Chicago from the drone footage brought to you by Abbott, life to the fullest. We're going to take you to a break, but don't go anywhere. We've got more of the 46th running of the Bank of America Chicago Marathon when we come back.
The Bank of America Chicago Marathon on NBC5 is brought to you by Exelon. This is energy at its best.
Energy is the force driving everything we do. So how can energy work harder? This is how. Exelon and its family of energy delivery companies, including ComEd, are working to help meet the need for more than 150,000 new energy jobs in Illinois by 2050. ComEd's Power Up Academy is just one program for training skilled and diverse talent. This is how we're creating a better tomorrow for our customers. Exelon and ComEd. This is energy at its best.
Growing up in Alaska, I always loved the trails. And I was way out there when I suddenly went into early labor. Every mom wants to have a healthy baby. And we were so lucky to receive the life-saving care that we did. But luck shouldn't have anything to do with it. My marathon is for Every Mother Counts, making sure all women have access to quality maternity care.
To everyone who craves a fresh meal, come have a taste of Wisconsin.
America's Dairyland.
As in real dairy.
It gives Culver's fresh frozen custard its famous rich and creamy flavor.
Like really rich.
So rich.
Rich and creamy.
And our cook-to-order Butterburgers?
They're topped with, you guessed it, Wisconsin cheese.
But it's the smiles we put on your face with every meal made just for you.
It really makes our hearts melt.
From Wisconsin with love.
Welcome to Delicious.
Yeah, the Chicago crowds are really amazing. They give us so much energy and good vibes.
I love all the silly signs. Like if people have, funny signs, like don't ever trust a fart,
Definitely towards the end, those last couple miles, you're just like feeding off the crowd. I like to visualize like as I'm passing people and they're yelling, they're like the wind from their voices is like pushing me forward, and I'm just using that energy.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Stefan Holt here at the finish line, waiting for the racers to make their way here. We're watching some of the wheelchair racers are now on Inner Lakeshore Drive, making their way up past Belmont Harbor, about to make that turn back south to get closer here to the finish line. As we see the athletes making their way to the finish line, there's an extra wrinkle that's added to this year's wheelchair competition we want to tell you about. The Bank of America Chicago Marathon is one of 6 Abbott World Marathon Majors, and today's race within the race is part of the Majors bonus points competition. Here's how it works. For the wheelchair racers, there will be a 400-meter point-to-point sprint, and that's going to be at the end of the race, starting at the 40K mark. That's right around Michigan Avenue and Cermak, close to McCormick Place. They're going to race all the way to here where you're looking right now. There's Mount Roosevelt as they come over the metro tracks there. 8 points will be awarded to the fastest man and woman to complete that section, regardless of their place in the pack at the time. The Bank of America Chicago Marathon is also offering a prize purse for the top 5 athletes in the sprint, with first place finishers getting $1,500. Now, athletes can win the 8 bonus points at a maximum of 3 races during this series of majors. So a lot of excitement as we watch this race, waiting for the finishers to make their way here. We'll send it now to Alex Maragos, a few blocks north. Alex?
Hey, Stefan, one thing that's great about the start line at a marathon is everyone comes here with their own personal story, their own journey, why they are running today. And here we have 5 young women from the Chicago area who are running for a very special cause. They're here to honor their friend, Eileen Sheehan, who died in a tragic skiing accident in January. Now, all of these young ladies grew up with Eileen, and they're here running in her honor today. First, I'm going to start with the person on my left here, Lily, who has known Eileen for a very long time. First of all, tell me about who Eileen was and why you're honoring her today.
First of all, very lucky enough to know Eileen. She was an amazing friend. I grew up with her, just beautiful inside and out. She was just a true friend to everyone and one of the most kind people I've ever met. And everyone, ever since the accident, has just been saying the same thing through and through, that she was just such an inspiration to everyone. And they kind of started this whole Live Like Eileen team and idea just to kind of spread the way that she lived, just spreading joy and lightness to everyone and saying yes to everything, not sweating the small things, and just trying to enjoy life as much as possible.
And I see the pin that you've got on as well, which is great. Riley, you could have done anything to honor Eileen, yet I know you'll continue for the rest of your life. Why'd you choose a marathon?
Eileen is the only person that could inspire us to run a marathon. She was going to sign up and run this year. She's been a runner for a few years, has ran the Michigan half before, and so we chose to do it in her honor since she can.
And it's the first marathon for 4 out of the 5 in this group. What is your goal today with being your first marathon, and what are you thinking when you get out on the course?
My goal is just to finish. I'm so honored to be running for Eileen, and we just want to have fun.
Well, I know you guys are going to have fun. You're going to have a wonderful time, and I know you'll be thinking of Eileen and honoring her in a wonderful way. And I know you're going to meet up with Eileen's family later on today. So just a wonderful thing that you guys are all doing. Good luck out there, and you've got a great day here. So just enjoy the course as much as you can. Good luck to you all. All right, I'll send it back to you guys.
All right, thanks so much, Alex. It's so inspirational to hear the different reasons people are running, and God bless those ladies for remembering their friend in this way. When she wanted to run a marathon, they're out there on the course for her. That's going to be beautiful. We're checking in now with the professional men. What are you seeing, Ed? And I know you guys we have 4 monitors here, so even when something else is on the air with you guys, they can watch the runners and keep up with the race. So what are you guys seeing so far?
Well, the men came through at 14:43 for 5K, which is about 2:04 marathon pace. I like the fact that we've got Kyohei Hosoya from Japan. He's a 2:06 guy, and he's feeling very comfortable. He's right up there. He's the guy in the red. He's got a 1:01 half marathon, so very solid credentials, but certainly running and surrounded by men who have run 2 to 3 minutes faster than him. But I like the fact that he's in the fight. They're running at I think a relatively conservative pace since they were considering going out in 61:30 pace for a half, which would be more like 2:03, so they're about 2:04. Some of that might be just trying to hold back a little bit or battle the headwind that they're going against. But again, all the main players are right there together. But the guy in red is a Japanese runner, and they came through the 4th mile at 4:47. So again, right about 2:04 pace, which I think is probably for this talent level and for the number of guys that they have and the fact that they are bucking this headwind for the first 8 miles. That's a good pace.
All right, let's check in on the women's professional pack, and actually it's not much of a pack. Isn't it Ruth basically by herself?
Yep, she's out. Let's talk about what she did in the first 5K. She went through in 15 flats. That's under 2:07 pace. So that means that she is flying right now. She's got her male pacers right there. Right behind her is Satume Kabete and Joycelyn Jepaskai, only about 10 seconds back. So they are well under world record pace. The women went through mile 4 in 4:54 pace. That is under that 4:55 pace is what the world record pace is. So just flying, Marion.
Ruth, I feel like she has something to prove to herself, and she really wants to get out there and make it happen. I have a feeling about her, right?
Every year she loves to come here, and she gets out super hard. She puts her heart on the line. You know, winning here twice, getting second, she's got quite the record here.
She really does. She really does. We can't really discount that. She has an amazing record.
We do.
Two-time champion.
We do know a little bit about the Americans as well. Susanna Sullivan is the lead American. She went through the 5K in 16:27, so she's coming up to 4 miles now. But she's on 2:19 pace, so 2:18 is the American record. She's right there. Kira D'Amato and Betsy Sena in 2nd and 3rd.
All right, let's check in on the wheelchair races. I think we're going to start with the women's wheelchair. Catherine DeBrunner all by herself there.
All by herself. You know, I'm hesitant to say this because I don't think it could possibly be real, but I think Catherine DeBrunner has won every marathon she has ever entered.
Wow.
Started at this distance in 2022 and has won. She's a little bit more selective than some of the pro wheelchair racers that we see who do the entire World Marathon Major circuit every year. So she normally only does 2 or 3 races per year, but that means when she comes into a race, she is fit and she is ready to win, and she has a streak of first place finishes behind her name.
She is a monster. All right, we have an interesting lead going on with the men's wheelchair. This is not what I expected.
There have been so many lead changes in this race, and it makes it so much fun to watch. But I can say as an athlete, it is not the race that you want to be in because it is nerve-wracking. But this is Tomoki Suzuki, the Paris Paralympic silver medalist, back up at the front. This is really similar to how he raced that Paralympic marathon, actually. Marcel Hug took off hard from the start, and for the majority of the race, Suzuki was in 3rd by himself with no one around him, and he held on to his pace and just kept chipping away, and ended up catching up to second place. And if the race was a little bit longer, he may have been able to reel in Marcel Hug for first.
This is amazing to see a third name so tight in there with Roman Chuck and Marcel Hug, because we're so used to those two names being the ones we watch so closely.
It's so exciting to see, and Tomoki Suzuki doesn't race all of that often outside of Japan, but he is really, really strong. He's won the Tokyo Marathon 2 times, most recently this past March in 2024. So he definitely has the speed, he has the experience, but it's really exciting to see him out on the streets of Chicago with such a dominant performance right now.
Is this his debut? Is this his Chicago debut? This first time in Chicago?
I believe that it is. It's definitely, if it's not, it's definitely his first time that he is in the lead pack in Chicago.
Sure, okay. Let's check in with the men's elite runners. Ed, what are you seeing? I know you've been spying on that box where we're watching the men.
Yeah, I think John Korir, again, who is one of our men who have run 2:05, is right there in things, and he's wearing the yellow. He's been a constant force right up behind the pace setter, so he must be feeling good. He's a 2-time LA Marathon champion. He has done historically very well here at Chicago. He was 3rd here in 2022. He was 4th in 2023. He knows how to get the job done here in Chicago, so I think that gives you an air of confidence here in the early miles. They're continuing to click along right at 4:47, 4:47, 4:46 pace, which again is going to be in the 2:04 range. And again, for today with the wind and with the quality men's field, I think that's a really good time. Not near as hasty and fast as the women are going right now, though, relatively speaking.
All right. Love to be able to check in on the women's moto, if at all possible, and see how Ruth Chepngetich is looking. Looks like they're making their way through Lincoln Park. Can we get to Dina? Dina, can you tell us anything? I don't know if we have Dina. Let's see if we have Galen.
I hear you.
Oh,
It
okay,
is just,
go for it.
I mean, the Chicago voices are coming out on the streets. 1.5 million people are taking over your voice, Miriam. We just passed the 5-mile mark. And I know you're asking about the lead women, but we are also with the leaders of Team USA up here. Zach Panning and CJ Albertson also projected to run 2:06. They are right next to me as Ruth Chepngetich continues to just set a blistering pace. Sudame Kabede is right off of her shoulders, but it's as if they're running 2 entirely different races, like they are just on a mission themselves, but there hasn't been any interaction between the two of them, which has been super interesting to see. They're just running their own races, and I think they're both hoping that as the miles wear on, that they're going to be the one to sustain this blistering pace. Back to you guys.
All right, thanks so much, Dina Castor. We'll get to Galen Rupp out there following the men's professional field in just a moment. Here's another look for you at some of the racers as they make their way down Columbus Drive. This is the 46th running of the Bank of America Chicago Marathon. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Adonis, and I am running the 2024 Bank of America Chicago Marathon for World Central Kitchen. I chose World Central Kitchen because I have personal experience with food insecurity, and the work that they do around the world providing nourishing meals, home-cooked meals to families is amazing. Most people think about the physical impact of growing up without food. The experience that I had was mental, physical, and emotional. You know, as a child, you should be worrying about, you know, growing and learning and having fun and experiencing the world. And food should not be a part of your everyday concern. I wanted to be a better person mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually, and running has become a big part of that. And running, I will tell you, for me, is somewhat of a forced meditation. I'm a very pragmatic person, and as I run, I try to solve problems, whether they're personal problems, work problems, or any other thing that I have going on. This will be my second marathon. I am looking forward to October the 14th, and it will be Medal Monday, and I will wear my medal because I would have finished the Chicago Marathon.
You deserve to wear that medal. Wear it all day long, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever you want to do. All right, let's check in on the professional men's pack here. What are you seeing, Ed?
Well, I'm also liking what Mr. Amos Kipruto from Kenya is doing. He's the third, essentially in third place, fifth, if you count the Pacers in there. He's in the solid blue with the yellow highlights. He is the man who's Mr. Consistency. He always finds a way to get on the winner's peristyle and at World Marathon majors like London, Tokyo, Berlin. He's coming off of a 2:03.13 in Tokyo a couple years back, but I like the fact that he's also a fast half marathon runner, so he's looking very comfortable. And they're getting the water bottles right now. It's always fun to see him grab their water bottles. They picked it up just a notch. They ran 4:43 for their 6th mile, so picked it up just a notch, and that's probably more in the wavelength they should be at for run 4:43s, which again is going to bring it down probably closer to 2:03 pace.
All right, let's check in on Ruth Chepngetich. She's looking pretty good still, Carrie?
She is, but right behind her is Situme Kebede. So there is, like Dina said, a two-woman race going on right now, two different races going on. But Ruth Chepngetich out very hard. She's right at 2:08 pace, right off the American men, which seems crazy, but that is typical for Ruth.
All right, sounds good. Let's check in with the second wave of runners as they approach the start line. All right, and they are off. Okay, so some of these runners are your everyday runners. They may run on the weekends. They have got day jobs typically. This is a group of folks that is just dedicated. For whatever reason they've chosen to run, they have made their way to the start line. Some of them are running for charity. Some of them, like those young women from the University of Michigan, are running for a friend and someone's memory. Some people are running because this is their personal goal. It's on their bucket list. Whatever their reason may be, they showed up today and they are making their way on this 26.2-mile journey all the way through the city of Chicago and hopefully out to the finish line. All right, we're going to check back in now with our own Alex Maragos, who just saw those folks take off. I'm always so inspired to watch the folks as they make their way, the everyday folks, as they make their way on this 26.2-mile run, Alex.
Marion, I've been seeing thousands of examples just like that, especially with Wave 2 starting. The excitement was through the roof. I'm here with Carmen Nacy, a Bank of America employee and Chicago native, who is running with incredible inspiration. Carmen, tell us your story and how you have undergone an amazing personal transformation.
Yeah, absolutely. So I started my health journey 10 years ago, having high blood pressure, borderline diabetes, and I decided to make a change, hire a personal trainer, and the rest is history. I lost 200 pounds, and here I am running my second marathon.
200 pounds. And you said that you've gotten into running because when the pandemic happened, you couldn't go to a gym, you couldn't do the things you're used to doing. What has running given you in your life as opposed to all the other physical accomplishments you've had to get to this point?
Yeah, running is just giving me a whole new sense of, you know, just health. Like, I never knew this would be possible considering where I started. So never knew that this is something I would ever be able to do.
There's the physical, which is obvious, but I'm sure the mental hurdles were incredible. To people out there who think, I can't do it, I can't start, I don't know where to go, I don't know who to talk to, how do they overcome that? How did you overcome that?
Just consistency is key. Just never tell yourself that you can't do anything, because anything is possible. Like I said, I never knew that I'd be able to do this, and here I am. So in the beginning, it's definitely going to be hard, but just keep, going at it, and you'll achieve your goals. It's hard work and dedication. It's key.
You said you had some family and friends who are going to watch you on the course today, your second Chicago Marathon. How important is it to have a group of people, the people who are telling you can do it, the supporters along the way?
Very important. It gives you that extra jolt of energy that you need to push through and just keep on going through the entire course.
And you've got a goal, a big goal today. What is that, really quick?
So I am looking to beat last year's time by at least an hour.
That's a big goal, Carmen. We think you could do it. Good luck. Congrats on what you've accomplished, and good luck out on the course today. Thank you, Carmen. Marion, back to you.
I'm not betting against Carmen, that's for sure. Losing 200 pounds. I think he's going to take that hour off his time. Very excited to hear how he does. All right, now let's check in with the men men's wheelchair racers. I think they're just past the halfway point or getting close to it, Amanda?
Just about at halfway, and we've had another lead change. This is Marcel Hug and Daniel Romanchuk back up in the front. That's Tomoki Suzuki just a little bit behind them. And so far, this has looked a lot like a game of cat and mouse. Every time Marcel and Daniel got close to Tomoki, he would surge again and pull ahead. But there's two things that Marcel really likes to do in races. He likes to go out hard from the start, and he likes to negative split. So sometimes we'll see Marcel Hug run the first half of the race a little bit more conservatively, and then when he hits that halfway point, he really turns it on. And you can see him now starting to pull away, starting to pull ahead of Daniel Romanchuk a little bit, and you can tell how fast he's moving by his arm speed and his cadence there. His hand speed is really picking up. He's not taking much time off the wheels, but he is on and he is consistent, looking behind him to see who's there, and now he's got a break. But we could see the breakaway happening.
Oh my goodness. All right, let's talk about Catherine de Bruyne. She's apparently got a 2-minute lead right now.
Catherine de Bruyne is so far ahead, and she just looks really, really comfortable. If you compare stroke cadence and how Marcel is pushing versus Catherine right now, she is really settled in to her pace. You can see that she's taking a little bit of a pause on the back end of her stroke. When wheelchair racers are accelerating, when they're pushing really hard, you'll see a lot of separation between their hands and the top of the ring, so they got a lot of lift off the back of it. If their stroke is shorter, if it's lower like this, and there's a pause in between, you can tell that she is in a pace and she's just kind of cruising. She's got a time she wants to hit, she's got a pace she wants to be on, and that's what she is working on now.
I love your expertise and your having been there and all these little nuggets and minutiae. It's so interesting. All right, well, now we're going to check in with the men's professional field, and apparently, excuse me, they're on a decent pace here, Ed?
Yeah, they are continuing to roll along at about 2:04 pace. One of our leaders is DeWitt Wolde. He's been wearing a white top with the blue. He's been consistently right in there. It's interesting because he was only 17th at Chicago in 2023. They have ratcheted down the pace a little bit, 4:41 for that 7th mile. And again, as they continue to do that, they will then go from 2:04 pace down to 2:03. I've been told that the Americans are back running right about a world championship qualifying time of about 2:06:30. They're headed by Zach Panning, C.J. Albertson, and Brian Schrader are in a group together and looking good. It looks to me like they're trying to hit that 2:06:30, which is the world championship qualifying mark.
All right. Anything you want to add real quick, Carrie?
I just love that these athletes are working together. We talked to the American men before, and they want to start running that sub 2:07 mark. They have to in order to run at that international stage, and they're going for it together. It's really exciting.
It is exciting to see. All right, let's check in now with Stephen Holt. He's at the finish line with a special guest.
A special guest indeed, Marion. I'm here with Coach Chris Bennett, Nike Global Run head coach, joining us here to talk about some of the training and the technique of getting ready for a race like this. Some of those runners that have just left in the 8 o'clock and now the 8:30 time in the corrals there, some of them, this is their first marathon.
Sure.
I know there's butterflies, there's some jitters. What advice would you give them?
Well, I think the important thing is to not even so much control your emotions. I think it's to work with them as best as you can, because you got to remember the marathon, race day's epic. But these athletes just went through 14, 16, 18 weeks of work. I mean, that's the hardest part of the marathon, is getting to the starting line. So my advice usually is to embrace your time on the starting line. It is extraordinary what you've done just to get here. We can worry about the finish line once you've crossed that starting line, but I think some of it is letting those emotions come, because what you've done already before you even start the race is incredible. So it's embracing the moment really more than anything else. And then what you find is those nerves turn into excitement.
Sure, so you start passing the 1.7 million people along the course,
absolutely,
cheering and chanting. All right, let's pause for a moment, because I'm sure some people are hearing your voice and saying, I know this guy from somewhere. Anyone who uses the Nike Run app has heard your voice before.
Sure, and it's a really amazing thing for me to come to an event like this and actually get to tell people in person how proud I am of them for getting here. So to me, Marathon Weekend in a city like Chicago is one of my favorite weekends of the year, and I tell the athletes that I will always be getting more out of this than they are, because what they give back, and which is why you mentioned the 1.7 million people lining the road, they're cheering on strangers. because they're inspired by what they've done. I mean, and if you actually just think about it, people come out for 4 or 5 hours to cheer on people they don't know. It's a really beautiful thing, but it also tells you just how amazing it is what these athletes on the course are trying to do.
Coach Bennett, it's good to see you. Thank you so
Thanks
much.
for having me.
We got an appointment to run tomorrow morning. You're going to be in my...
I'll meet you on the starting line.
I'll see you
Let's
there.
go.
Coach Bennett, thank you very much. Marion, we'll send it back to you.
All right, thanks so much, Stefan. We are looking at the men's professional field right now, trying to men's and the women's, actually. We're going to take a look at Ruth Chepngetich, who is comfortably behind her own pacers. Those are her pacers, correct?
Those are her pacers, yes, and she is still hammering out 4:55 per mile. She's getting a little bit of distance on Situme Kebede. You know, one of the things that we've seen with Ruth is she's attacked this course so hard. In the past, when she's won, she has gone out in very fast over the half marathon distance and then crawled her way home and still been able to win. So it's interesting that she's still doing this. Yes, she's chasing that time, but she knows the win is more important than anything. So this is her style. This is what she does. You know, she is so good over that half marathon distance. She's a 64:01 gal. So she's got the leg speed. She's got the grit. She's self-coached. She trains with men. Huh? So this is comfortable for her to not have women around her. She doesn't like probably hearing. And, you know, men and women sound different when they're breathing at times. So she might not look, although she did just take a look back. So she's wondering what's going on in the race, but definitely hanging on to her paces.
All right, let's take a look at the men's pack. We see, who is that? Is that Korir toward the front?
Yeah, that's in the yellow is John Korir. He's been there in the entire way, just shaking out his arms, making sure he stays loose. But it's been DeWitt Wolde from Ethiopia who's been the guy that's kind of been content to ride right up behind in the slipstream of those pacers up front.
All right, let's check in with Galen. We were able to connect with Galen. Galen, what are you seeing from the runners right there at the front?
Yeah, one thing that I thought was interesting was Daniel Abenyo missed his first bottle at the first water station, and he ended up stopping, going back and grabbing it. That is the only sign of distress I've seen on his face. Once he caught back up, he is back looking cool as a cucumber. Amos Kipruto, I think, is just running an unbelievable race right now. He is locked in and I really like where he's sitting in the middle of the pack. He is being shielded from the wind better than anybody. Looks so relaxed, and John Korir looks like he's just getting back on his shoulder too. But everybody looks pretty comfortable here, I would say, all the main players.
All right, it's amazing that they are looking comfortable. What does that tell you, Ed?
Well, when you hear that Daniel Abenyo missed a bottle, probably not a surprise. This is his first marathon. It is it's kind of a learning process, right? They're grabbing those bottles on the run. They're running at 4:40 pace, and it's tough to get that bottle off the table. The fact that he went and got it, I think he realizes that the need to have the fluids, and the fact that he was able to catch back up and ensconce himself very comfortably in that pack is a good sign for his day.
All right, don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more of the Bank of America Chicago Marathon right after this.
The Bank of America Chicago Marathon on NBC5 is brought to you by Abbott. Life to the fullest.
I held the American record in 2022, and it was broken here in 2022 by Emily Sisson. It's about 30 seconds faster than my PR. So if I run about a second faster per mile, I'll be knocking on the door of it. I think there's a handful of American women that could potentially run that time, and I think there's a handful of women that may be going after it.
I wouldn't say the record is something I'm chasing, but it's definitely something that I have my sights on.
I really want to get together with the group and see what we can do together as a team.
If the American record gets broken, it will happen in Chicago. This is a place.
And we're back. Welcome, everybody. I'm Stefan Holt here at the finish line as we watch these racers make their way through the city of Chicago. The men's elite team now coming down the north side, down Broadway. The men's elite wheelchair racers on the west side, as well as the women's elite wheelchair racers as they get closer and closer to the finish line here on Columbus Drive between Roosevelt and Balboa. Now, we talk about the Bank of America Chicago Marathon as being one of the premier races of the Abbott World Series, but it's also part of the Chicago Distance Series, the Bank of America Chicago Distance Series. I want to show you this medal. And this goes to the people that complete all 3 races in that distance series. That is the Chicago Marathon, the Chicago 13.1, and the Shamrock Shuffle, 3 of some of the greatest races here in the city of Chicago. Now, the 3 races span the entire outdoor running season and celebrate, of course, all of Chicago's vibrant neighborhoods and the diverse nature of our local and global running communities. Now, anyone who finishes all 3 of the 2024 events, they'll receive this very unique medal. What's cool about it, it's the view looking south from Lincoln Park. You can see the skyline in the distance. There's Navy Pier. There's Cannon Drive, where the racers, some of them are coming up right now. And it's not just this cool medal. You also get a guaranteed entry into the 2025 Bank of America Chicago Marathon. So something to look forward to for a lot of these racers out here today. Marion, we'll send it back to you.
All right, thanks so much. Appreciate it, Stefan. Our analysts are getting all their detailed information. We actually have a couple of people here in the room. We also that are working to give the split times so we can keep track of where everybody is. All right, now we want to check in with women's wheelchair. Amanda, she's still in the lead.
She is still in the lead. Catherine DeBrunner
is
just past the half at 47.19. So something people are usually really surprised to learn is how much faster wheelchair racers are than runners. Wheels are more efficient than feet are, and it's not surprising to see women race in the 130s over 26 miles, which is an average of close to 17 miles an hour, a little bit faster than that actually. But Catherine DeBrunner's got a 2-minute lead on the chase pack, which is her Swiss teammate Manuela Schär and well-known in Chicago, Tatiana McFadden.
All right, let's check in now, Amanda, with the men's wheelchair and see how they're looking, if there's been any more lead changes.
It is still the same 3 that we have been seeing this whole race so far. That's Marcel Hoog in the front with the silver helmet. US's Daniel Romanchuk in red right behind him. And then Tomoki Suzuki in the back. These 3 are all on pace to break the course record, which is pretty impressive. Marcel Hoog did it in 2022. Did it in 2023. They might do it again this year. At 25K, they are at 50 minutes, 25 seconds.
All right. It's so fascinating. There they go. Now Daniel's in the lead again. And then here comes Suzuki up the side.
That drafting effect makes a huge, huge difference. And if you can tuck up in behind someone, like Marcel Hoog is doing behind Daniel Romanchuk right now, you can actually save 20 to 30% of your energy by getting sucked along inside that draft line. We've seen Tomoki Suzuki kind of hang outside of that draft a little bit, so he's working harder, but he tends to be the one that has been going up to the front and kind of pushing the pace.
Is it annoying as an athlete to have someone, draft or, break the draft, somebody else, and even if you're trying to move away, does it irritate you?
So I always loved being in the draft line, and it does, because you kind of want everybody in tight, and if they're not in that draft line, if they're not tucked in, you're always really suspicious about what they're doing. You feel like they have a plan, and I feel like Tomoki Suzuki has a plan here. I think he's hanging out to the side so that he can be the first one to react if a surge goes, or so he can be the one to put that surge on and surprise everybody by pulling out around from the back before they have time to react.
We'll see if that's what happens. All right, let's check in now with the women's professional one-person field, it looks like at this moment.
Sure
Carrie,
does.
Ruth Chepngetich is just with her pacers and a man off to the side that we can't see.
Yeah, she went through 15K in 45:32. That's 2:08:30 pace. Now, we have seen this world record come down time and time again in the last couple years. 2:11 is the world record right now by Asefa. Last year, we saw Sifan Hassan chase this woman down to run the second fastest time we've ever seen in 2:13. So this is the thing, like Ruth Chepngetich is such a go-getter and she's going for it. But we know that Stume Kabete is in second. Joycelyn Jepkosgei is 2 minutes back. I don't know, I've starred Joycelyn's name. I don't know, but I just feel like maybe she is the one that's running within herself and running very smart. I mean, she's still on world record pace. Okay. So let's keep an eye on what Joycelyn Jepkosgei is doing.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily, just because they're not together right now. Yes. We're still so early in the race.
So early, conserving energy, going out too hard can bite you in the end, right? So we know that Ruth is strong, but she has some very strong ladies behind her.
All right, it's always so fascinating, all the different tactics that come into play as it relates to marathon running. All right, let's check in with the men's elite again. And Ed, it looks like Korir is still there. Walid is still there.
Yeah, that's actually Vincent Chepngetich. Korir is also in that pack. There's really about 10 men in that lead pack, but Wolde and Chepngetich have been the two that have been right up there, right behind the Pacers. They're looking good. They came through 15K a while ago in 44.28, which again is about 2:04.28 pace. They're looking good. They just ran their 10th mile at 4:52. So, you know, back and forth. I think the wind is buffeting them a little bit, but they're still staying consistent about 2:04.28. Now, Vincent Chepngetich, who's there in the yellow, just wiping his brow there, he is also really one of our pre-race favorites. He's only run 2 marathons, and in them he got second at Berlin in 2:03. He was third at Tokyo in 2:04. Those both happened within the last year. So really, in terms of consistency and being a relatively newcomer, he's kind of a man to watch. So not a real surprise that Vincent Chepngetich is there running side by side with DeWitt Wolde. But again, that pack, if they were to expand back, we really have 9 or 10 men in it right now. All of them are the guys that are the 2:05, 2:06 guys. Probably the biggest surprise up there right now would be Hosoya from Japan, who's a 2:06.30 guy, running with some guys that are a little bit faster than him. But hey, it's a good day out there, and who knows, maybe this is a day for a PR for him.
All right, now we're going to check in with the women's professional field of one at this moment, and Dina Castor, who's right in front of her. Dina.
Best seat in Chicago today to watch this show unfold. If you see in front of you Situme Kibede's pack of about 7 just attached themselves to Ruth Chepngetich. So now we might see them working together as one system. It's been very separate from here on out. It looked like that gap was increasing, but in the last 5K, you saw that pack slowly reel in Ruth Chepngetich. And now the game begins. Let's keep our eye on any dynamics if they come side by side to see if there's interaction between them. But in the history of distance running, it is always a Kenya-Ethiopia battle. And here again on the streets of Chicago, we're seeing that. Kelvin Kiptum, the executive race director of the Bank of America Chicago Marathon, said yesterday in the press conference, people come here to run fast. I like to say it's the Kelvin Kiptum effect, but it's been happening for years. And this is the duo to fight to the finish to see this world record go down. 2:08 projected finish right now is still smoking fast, 3 minutes under the current world record, almost 4 minutes. So they mean business today. There's still a lot of road ahead of them, but both women looking supremely good.
Dina, can you see any of the American runners earlier on? We know that they were right there with Ruth Chepngetich. Are you seeing any at this point?
Yeah, now the American men are further ahead. I think they're staying on that 2:06 projected finishing pace, while the women have slowed by a couple of minutes in their projected finish. But fast running all around, the weather out here is absolutely perfect for fast running. So whether we see world records, course records, American Masters records, we're going to see thousands of personal bests today.
All right, thank you, Dina. Now let's check in with Galen Rupp, who's following the men's professional field. Galen, what are you observing?
I still think that Ebenyo looks phenomenal. He looks so relaxed. You can tell how comfortable he is running in the pack from all his track experience, and he is doing an exceptional job of just hanging back and biding his time for a first-time marathoner. And also,
there's Chris Norman on the back of the vehicle.
Also, Amos Kipruto, again, running a great race, staying super relaxed. He looks well within himself, and I think he's poised for a big finish. One thing I have seen is Walla Lang looks like he's been struggling a little bit. He's been wincing a lot, and he's run under 2:05. He's a 2:04.50 marathoner, but you can see it right now in his face. He will start to wince a little bit, and that usually could be a sign that he might be starting to break.
Thoughts on that, Ed?
Yeah, that's tough, and you know what? You have some very talented men. They're pushing the envelope in training, and sometimes the race starts rolling out, and you're only as good as your weakest link, and that may be what's going on with Lele right now. Nice, in terms of Ebenyo getting his water bottle on the last one. Galen, did he look okay on this last one? Is he getting a little more comfortable picking up the water bottle on the fly?
He looked better on the third stop. The second one, he was still a little shaky. He almost came to a dead stop getting it. But, you know, it's always a bit of chaos at the water stations. He definitely cut a few athletes off right at the last second. So he's still getting used to it, but I think he's finding his way as the race is going on.
Yeah, well, and the good thing is the race continues on. That pack is going to get thinned out. It's one thing to have to wade through 10 people to get your water bottle, and then as you get down to 4, 3, 2, 1, then it becomes a lot easier. But really talented men in that field right now. So many opportunities, and Benya with that track speed. He's a 5-time Kenya national champ at 5,000 meters, and so the man can run well under 13 minutes for 5K. When you have that kind of speed, and then you're running only 4:45 miles, and it's a little more comfortable. They just told us, however, that the last men's mile was 4:36. Galen, could you feel the pickup of pace a little bit, and are things stretching out a little bit?
You could tell a few points it stretched out, but for the most part, everybody looks pretty comfortable. You know, that main group looks really calm. DeWitt Wolde has always been up near the front, and I don't know whether that's a sign he's feeling really good, but sometimes it's a little early to be pushing this early, and when you're right up on the pacers, that's a lot of mental energy that you're wasting. But he looks great right now. He's tucked in right behind him, and the rest of the pack, they seem pretty comfortable too.
All right, now we're going to check in on the men's wheelchair. Thanks so much, Galen. I always love to hear your perspective. Just a few years ago, we were listening to Ed talk about you, so it's really interesting to hear what you have to say. All right, let's check in with the men's wheelchair. Amanda, looks like we've seen another shift. We've now got Marcel Hoog in front.
This is a huge difference what we've seen on this course the past few years, where Marcel Hoog has been out on his own with no one inside. But it is Marcel Hoog, and that's Daniel Romachuk in the red coming up his outside. And then back in the distance is Tomoki Suzuki. And this has happened a couple times so far in the race. A little bit of a surge has gone on. Tomoki Suzuki has fallen back, but every single time so far he's been able to close that. But you know, the later you get into the race, the more fatigue you're carrying, the harder it gets to counter those attacks and close the gaps. This is Daniel Romachuk up in the lead now, and you can see we talked a little bit earlier about cadence of strokes, and we can see how relaxed Daniel Romachuk is here. He's got a stroke sequence going. He's not going too hard, but something really interesting about Daniel Romachuk and his chair. If you look in the inside of his wheels, both Marcel and Daniel have the same wheel, and the hand ring, the part that Daniel pushes on, is so big, it's almost touching that outside carbon rim versus Marcel's, which is much smaller. That means Daniel gets more wheel coverage, and he can essentially push in a higher gear than anyone else can with his 7-foot wingspan.
I was just going to say, these are the longest arms I've ever seen in my life.
His arms are so long. He is built to be a wheelchair racer, and he is so strong and so good at the sport.
All right, well, we'll keep watching them because they're getting close to the end. Don't go anywhere. An exciting finish looks like it is coming your way with the men's wheelchair finish. Stick with us. We'll have more of the 46th running of the Bank of America Chicago Marathon when we come back.
Welcome back. You're watching the 46th running of the Bank of America Chicago Marathon. Live pictures as the wheelchair racers are making that turn from Cermak onto Wentworth, entering Chinatown, one of the 29 neighborhoods along this marathon course. And what a beautiful day for racing we have here. Important to point out that the Bank of America Chicago Marathon is one of 6 global races that makes up the Abbott World Majors series. They form the Abbott World Marathon Majors, the other being Tokyo, Boston, London, Berlin, and New York City. You can see the dates there. Champions in the Abbott World Marathon Majors are determined through a point system taken from a maximum of 2 qualifying races over a series. The current series concludes next month with the New York City Marathon. There's also a 6-star system, and as of last month, more than 17,000 runners have competed in all 6 of these races. If you'd like to find out more information, you can log on to AbbottWMM.com. We're here at the finish line getting ready for the racers to make their way here. They're getting close. Marion, we'll be waiting for them.
I know, they're getting really close. Let's take a look at them right now. And we can see, Amanda, you've talked a lot about the shifts in leadership. It looks like it's happened again. So does this portend a tight little sprint finish for us?
This is shaping up to be quite an exciting finish. Tomoki Suzuki has fallen off the back again. This is Marcel Hug with a little bit of a surge here right now, but Daniel Romanchuk is hanging in really tight behind him. And I think that it's going to be interesting watching this play out because both Tomoki Suzuki and Marcel Hug have done a lot of work in this race with speed plays, with surges, with trying to break that pack up. And Daniel has been really calm and really relaxed, just kind of tucked into that draft. When he gets up in the front, he's been pulling steadily. He hasn't been trying to surge. He hasn't been trying to make any attacks. And so Daniel's probably going to have a little bit more left at the end, and that's important too because this race ends with the biggest climb on the course, and it's going to be a headwind for the last few miles coming up to that finish.
All right, so we shall be checking it out. Now we want to check in with the men's professional pack. Let's see who we got coming up to the halfway point. What are you seeing here, Ed?
I still see Wolde up there working side by side with Chepngetich, but Amos Kipruto now in the solid blue, asserting himself a little bit now, moving up a little closer to that. But we still have really a pack of 8, 9 men running closely together, but Amos Kipruto now moving upwards a little bit. Now would be probably our third runner if you take out the pace setters. So this is a good pacing on their part. They came through 20K at 59.03, so that's 2:04.34 pace. And we should probably mention the Americans, Zach Panning, CJ Alberson right now running together. They came through 20K at 1 hour even, which would put them on about 2:06.32 pace. I believe Shadrach Kipchirchir and Brian Schrader running together at 2:08.21 pace, so a couple minutes back. And now the men just came through half 1:01.20, so they definitely have picked up coming through in 1:01.20. So now we're more at 2:02.40. My math skills are really good. I can double that. So 2:02.40 pace. So yeah, we see that they have stepped down, and again we said they had that 4:36 mile in there, so things are really ratcheting up a little bit. And this is where things get exciting because now from halfway on we'll see if they have the temerity to try to neg a split. Coming through in 1:01.20 though is a very solid pace.
Well, we were talking a lot about.
Sorry. I just was given it was actually 1:02.20, which makes more sense because suddenly that's more like 4:04.40. So 2:04.40 pace is what we're on. They came through in 1:02.20 for half, and that's. Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
We talked so much about negative splits last year because that's exactly what Kelvin Kiptum was doing. So it's exciting when you start to hear that discussion, but that's not happening at this point yet, right, guys? All right, we want to take a look now at Ruth Chepngetich. She is still coming. She's moving her way to the halfway point, still looking like she is by herself. Carrie, what are you hearing and seeing?
We have heard that she's about 8 seconds up on Sutume Kebede, and they're coming up to that half marathon, which is going to be super fast. We know in 2021 she went out in 67:34, and that's when she came back and ran 7:74 for the second half, but still won. So she is well under that this year, and she is chasing that record. We know that world record of 2:11.53 set in Berlin of 2023 by Tigist Assefa.
Yeah, let's see if she does it. I know I feel like sometimes that she's felt like she's had a little, not a chip on her shoulder, but to have Sifan Hassan come in here and really kind of dominate last year, do you think she feels like she has something to prove?
I think she did like finishing second. She wants to be one of those very few that have won 3 times, but she is somebody that is thinking now about the time. I mean, so many people are talking about, can women break 2:10? Well, she is on pace for that. She just went through half marathon in 1:04.16.
Wow.
That's one of the fastest half marathons we've ever seen.
Oh, wow.
So she's going through now in her halfway split in that. And so she is someone that has sort of changed the sport. She was one of the first people, if not the first, I think, to break 65 minutes in the half marathon. She's just always someone that takes charge and goes for it.
All right, good for her. And does it quietly and slowly and just in her own way. All right, let's see if we can take a look at the men's wheelchair. Another little lead shift here, Amanda, but this is tactical. This all feels tactical.
This race has been so tactical, and this is the same thing we have seen every single time we have checked in. Tomoki Suzuki has fallen off, and he has been able to close that gap and catch up every single time. But they are getting close. They're coming up on 40K pretty soon, and then after that, it's just 2K to the finish. And it's worth mentioning, Marcel Hug has won this race the past 2 years, but the last person to beat him on this course was Daniel Romanchuk, and he did it at the line. It was a sprint finish, and Daniel Romanchuk is setting himself up right now for a repeat of that 2021 victory.
I think that was his Chicago debut as well, if not his marathon debut. I'm not sure, but I remember thinking, gosh, this young kid from the University of Illinois is doing so well. We were so excited to see him win, and I don't think Marcel, and ever since then, it's sort of been Daniel and Marcel sort of in the lead pack almost always.
So it's really funny because the last time Marcel was defeated on the road was in 2021 at the Chicago Marathon. The last time Marcel Hug was defeated on the track was in Paris, the Paralympic the Paralympic 5000, where Daniel won. And in that stretch in between, Marcel Hug was undefeated over every single distance, road and track, for nearly 3 years.
Yeah.
So if there is someone who can do it,
it's Daniel.
It is Daniel Romanchuk, but here up in the lead again, pulling ahead a little bit, Tomoki Suzuki.
And even at the press conference, Marcel Hug acknowledged, he says, one of the things I'll be doing is watching to see where Daniel Romanchuk is. I wonder if he had Tomoki Suzuki in his mind.
I'm not sure. I don't know if anyone had Tomoki Suzuki in mind. It was such a surprise to so many people to see him nab that second place spot at the Paris Paralympic Marathon. But Daniel is hard to beat on the hills. We talked about how long his arms are, what great wheel coverage he gets, and that it's essentially an extra gear that he gets on everyone else. His strength is climbing, and he knows it. And if he comes into that final climb with the three of these guys, in this group of three, it's going to be really, really hard to stick with him up that short, steep climb.
Okay, we'll be watching real quick. We're going to get back to the men's wheelchair really soon because they're getting close to the finish. We want to check in on the men's elite, though, and see what that's looking like and where the leaderboard is with those folks. Ed, what do you see?
Well, we've got 9 still in that lead, and Wolde now has moved back up. He's been content to be that second guy along with Chepngetich. Chepngetich in the yellow and Wolde in the blue, and that's Kenya versus Ethiopia. And these two East African countries, they are the medal winners in international championships and competitions. And there is a friendly rivalry, maybe sometimes not so friendly rivalry between these two countries. And so certainly there is pride amongst them in trying to beat one another in the field. But right now it's Chepngetich strongly in leading. They came through the 14th mile in 4:44. So they really continue to kind of roll off mile splits that will bring them home in about 2:04, and I think that is why we're still seeing about 8 men besides those pacers in that lead pack. So really, you can't discount anybody that's in that lead pack. And when you have synergy like this running together past half marathon, then you know you're probably going to have a blazing finish. And Amos Kipruto in the solid blue there on the right of the screen right now in the Adidas kit. He's also from Kenya. He has the second fastest personal best at 2:03.13, and he knows how to win and place well in big-time marathons. He was a bronze medalist at the World Championships in 2019, so I think he's feeling pretty good. But right now, anytime the pace lags, Vincent Chepngetich is the man there. He's 2 for 2 in terms of marathons. He's run 2:03.13 and 2:04.18 recently, and that's right around the pace they're at right now.
All right, let's check in with the women's elite, one person in there with her pacers. And Carrie, the halves have been showing some impressive times.
Oh my goodness, we have seen the 2 fastest women ever over half marathon on U.S. soil. This is so exciting. Ruth unofficially is the U.S. fastest half ever, and she's on the 5th fastest in history. Wow. I mean, she's running so well. But we have a long time to go. And Situme Kibete, excuse me, she's only about 15 seconds back. So she's not out of it.
Not out of it, no.
And at paces like this, sometimes they can be self-destructive paces when they're going that hard.
Yeah.
So the fact that that's the fastest half marathon ever run on American soil, and she still has another half to go.
Yeah.
Tells you.
Let's go.
Yeah, she's going for it.
All right, here's Catherine DeBrunner. Amanda, she has been by herself. I think she's pretty much showing how dominant she can be.
The whole race, she's got about a 2.5-minute lead right now on the chase pack of Tatiana McFadden and Manuela Schär. She just came through 35K at 1:19:10, so she's a little bit off of course record pace, but she has been consistent running 11:10, 11:12 5Ks this whole race, just like clockwork.
Okay, now let's check in with the men. We're getting close to the finish. I can see that they are making their way down Michigan Avenue, and this is when they'll make their way to Mount Roosevelt, that final climb that I know all the runners hate so much, because this is the flat course until the end, which is, how cruel is that?
That's cruel.
You know, to have to hit that at the very last point two. So where we can see now what's happening here, Amanda. It looks like, is somebody breaking out, or is there
a little bit of a surge on the left side of the screen from Marcel Hug, but not a big one. Marcel likes to play with speed a little bit. He'll put in a couple of quick strokes and see if anyone reacts, see if he starts to pull away, and if he does, then he'll take advantage of that. But Daniel Romanchuk tucked up right behind him, as he has been the whole time. Tomoki Suzuki hanging off the back a little bit further, but we've seen that, and we've seen him recover time and time again.
I love to see the tactics. There's so much strategy in both the running and in the wheelchair races. It is just fascinating to see.
And it's been so tactical. At the halfway point, these three were on track to run a course record. They were going to go sub 1:23 for a new course record. And since then, they're now at about 1:25:20.
Oh,
so they have slowed down a lot, and this changed from a race for time and a race for a course record to that tactical, strategic. This is now a race for first place.
Yeah, they want the win. They are going for the win. Yes. All right, here comes Daniel again. I mean, I feel like Marcel's looking over like, dude, go away. And it's not gonna happen. All right, let's check in. We're going to stay with the men's because we are getting close. I recognize some of the buildings and things. That's why I know where they are. And they are on Michigan Avenue and making their way toward Roosevelt. I can't see exactly what street they're about to cross, but they're getting close.
They're getting close. They just passed 40K a little while ago. They're at a 1:25:40 pace. And also it's worth noting that this is the headwind section of the course again. And headwinds are every element that you can think of affects you more when you are on wheels. And so the headwinds are a little bit stronger, the tailwinds are a little bit better, but the headwinds hurt a little bit more. This is where Marcel Hug really excels because he is so efficient. You can see how low he is, how aerodynamic he is, and how tight he keeps his chin to the front of his frame. He is so strong in a headwind, and this is where it's important for Daniel Romanchuk to get tucked up in there to get a little bit of that draft so that they can hang on and be ready for the sprint. But I wouldn't want to be in a head-to-head sprint with Daniel Romanchuk after 26 miles.
I wouldn't either. All right, so tell me, what kind of training are they doing as they're reaching the finish? I mean, how do you train for the finish? Is it always with the sprint, or is it somewhat tactical?
It can change from every race, and it's one of the things that I think is the most fun about wheelchair racing is that you never know what's going to happen, and there is so much strategy. Every part of this is a learned skill. So the wheelchair racing stroke, the way that you push the chair is different than the way that you push an everyday chair. The way you steer, the way you sit, learning how to take turns, and then also taking advantage of your strengths and using them to hurt your opponents. If you're really, really strong on the climbs, you want to hit those hard and make everyone react to you. If you're great at turning, you want to accelerate out of those turns. And we've seen a lot of that. Marcel Hug is so good at all of the tactical pieces. When he comes out of those turns, he's been surging. When he hits the hills, when he hits the downhills, he'll do some overspeed. He can push faster than anybody else can.
They're making that turn. This is Mount Roosevelt, that last moment. How are you feeling right here, Amanda, as you're heading up this hill after 26 miles?
Everything hurts. Everything hurts, head to toe, every inch of you. But there is no choice. You know that it is going to be all out. And Marcel Hug was ready. He took off hard as soon as they came around the turn. Daniel Romanchuk's got a little bit of work to do if he wants to close it. And he's going to want to be at the front when they hit the last turn into the finish line, because Marcel Hug's downhill overspeed is so strong.
It looks like he's pulling out. It looks like Hug is pulling out.
After the entire race is a pack of 3.
Ladies and gentlemen.
We are seeing it happen. All right. Call it for us, Amanda.
And that is it. The 2024 Bank of America Chicago Marathon champion for the 3rd time in a row will be Marcel Hug.
Doing it again from Switzerland, Marcel Hug.
He fought for that one. He fought for that one. And on his tail, Daniel Romanchuk. And more, a name I think we're going to be hearing more of now that we've, well, you already knew who he was, of course, but Tomoki Suzuki, it's good to see another name that we can pay attention to, and he has got place number 3. He will be podium, is that a verb? Podiuming today. It's so exciting to see this race. And to see the wins and the work that goes into it. Amanda, I mean, at the end of a race like that, I mean, obviously you're exhilarated when you're in the top 3. But I mean, just when you're post-race period, how are you feeling? What's going through your mind? I'm so glad it's over.
Yeah, yeah, a lot of that. I was trying to think about how to put it into words because it is a flood of emotions. When it's a good race, you're so excited, and that adrenaline is kind of carrying you through the excitement. But you're exhausted. No matter how much you train, no matter how many times you've done this, 26 miles is a long, long way, and it hurts.
I bet. I can't imagine it wouldn't. All right, let's check in with the women's wheelchair race. Kathryn DeBruner, a couple of minutes ahead still. She is so dominant right now in the last few seasons, and she's showing why at this moment.
Still with about 2.5 minutes on the chase pack, but she's been really consistent. She's been running the same 5K splits this entire race. So she set off with a speed that she wanted to hold, splits that she wanted to hold. And unlike runners, most wheelchair racers race with a cycle computer. So you can see it on the front of her chair just below her handlebars. There's her brake and her handlebars, but instead of going off of split times, most wheelchair racers use live speed. And that's because the conditions on the course can affect the speed so much. So whether it is an incline or a downhill or a headwind, that can change the speed that you are averaging quite a bit, and it can change your mile splits. And so instead of going off of steady mile times and steady mile splits, they go off of
that's
live
a nice
speed.
little nugget. Thank you so much, Amanda. Love having you here. Definitely love that expertise. Let's check in on the men's elite field. I can see the pacer in the front. I don't know where they are behind. Is that Korir still?
Yeah, I think that's Korir, again, our 2-time LA Marathon champ, who has done so very well here at Chicago, getting 3rd here in 2022, 4th last year. He has been a guy that's kind of followed the pace. And when you see the pack stringing out like that, then you know some work is being done. Right now, I think it's Korir, Ebenyo, Kipruto, and then 4 or 5 others that are just chasing that pack, looking very solid. And again, just trying to match things. They ran 4:43 on the last mile. They continue to hover right around. They ran 25K through 1:13:47, so they're about 2:04:32 shape pace. And this is where things get difficult. Amos Kipruto back a little bit from Korir. There's a little bit of an opening. I think it's still probably too early for him to break them, but behind Korir, our next man is Kipruto wearing the solid blue.
All right, right now the men's elite group is on Jackson in the West Loop. They just passed the target, didn't make any stops. It's tough not to pass the target and not go in, but they did not. They are just at the Aberdeen area, so they're making their way around. Mile 16, don't go anywhere. We will be back shortly. We're going to take you away with a beautiful look of at our city with some drone footage sponsored by Abbott. Life to the fullest. The Bank of America Chicago Marathon will be back right after this.
The Bank of America Chicago Marathon on NBC5 is brought to you by Bank of America. What would you like the power to do?
We live in a beautiful city, do we not? Right now, you're looking at Wacker Drive and the River Walk along the Chicago River, and the runners are getting a nice view of the city of Chicago as well. This is drone footage provided by Abbott, life to the fullest, and we certainly appreciate it. I love our gorgeous city. Now let's take a look at the women's leading pack. Ruth Chepngetich has been very consistent. She's led the entire way, really, Carrie.
She has. She is about 50 seconds up from Situme Kebede. So Situme falling off just a little bit. We know that Joycelyn Jepkosgei is 4 minutes back in third place. So Ruth is really hammering. But let's just give a little bit of an update on the American women. We know our first American is Susanna Sullivan, the teacher from D.C. We love her story.
Love it.
She has done so well in the last couple years. She hasn't gotten quite the attention, which she should. She was 58th at the World Champs in 2023 on a broken patella. That's your knee. And you think of running, you use your knee every single time you take a step. So she really had to work through that. She missed the Olympic trials last February, well, this past February. And so having a really great race right on 2:20 pace, which would be a huge PR and well under that World Championship standard, which a lot of the Americans are going after, which is 2:23:30. And then in second and third for the Americans, Betsy Sena and Emma Bates. So Betsy Sena, the fastest American in 2024, trains with Joycelyn Jepkosgei, has also been coming back from an injury, and so has Emma Bates. Emma Bates ruptured her plantar fasciitis last year in this race. Still finished, but is so strong and is saying she thinks she's in shape to run under 2:20, but is trying really just to have fun. I got to tell you something fun about her. She has these awesome nails right now, and they look like claws. So she says the claws are coming out.
All right.
Yeah.
Whatever it takes to get you motivated, to get you moving. All right, let's check in with the men.
Well, and unfortunately, I was going to add, we have not had a split off of Kira D'Amato since 15K, which is not a good sign. We were speaking just 2 days ago, and unfortunately, in the taper, her foot, she's got a little tiny pain in the arch of her foot. Sometimes in the marathon, you are only as good as your weakest link, and I'm afraid that maybe some plantar issues have flared up. But that was so rare. We were patting ourselves on the back last week because we had got through the build without an injury. But sometimes in that pre-race taper, as you bring the mileage down, then you'll have little things that come up. So unfortunately, I think she's out.
It's part of the game, right?
Yeah.
I mean, as unfortunate as it is, that's what happens when you're a runner.
Yes, absolutely.
And looking at the men now, we got 2 men in yellow. The one with arm sleeves, that is John Korir. Again, he's been third here. He's been fourth here. He's been the guy that's been following the paces. They ran their last mile 17 at 4:40, so that's a good solid pace. And running right comfortably next to him is his Kenyan countryman Vincent Chepngetich in the yellow, also looking very good. Our lead pack now is down to 7 men. Let's see, Ebenyo, who is the newcomer, he's kind of back there, the taller runner as well. He's looking very comfortable. He has not yet took a sniff into the lead because he knows this is his first one. He wants to just follow for as long as he can and maybe use that track speed at the end. And then Amos Kipruto in the solid blue and the darker blue. He's the consistent man, and he was also one that also has the second fastest personal best time of 2:03:13. So he's feeling pretty comfortable right now as well.
All right, let's check in on the women's wheelchair race. Getting close to the finish, Catherine DeBrunner is basically all by herself, as she has been for the entire race. Amanda.
She has been so steady this entire race, and this is such a hard place to be in. It's hard mentally to push on your own like this, but it's hard physically. There is no one else out there, no one to help break the wind for you, no one to pace off of. It is just Catherine out on her own.
That's what she wants to do, though. You said that this has sort of been her tactic.
It has been. and she is on pace to smash the course record. And this is just what she has been doing. She goes out hard, she sets a pace, and she is just super, super strong, super, super steady.
Wow, her own pace. She is on Mount Roosevelt right now. She is about to make that turn onto Columbus Drive, and we're about to see our reigning champion from 2023 take on another win in 2024 and maybe another course record. She set the course record last year.
For the second year in a row, breaking her own course record. That's $50,000 if you break the course record.
Oh, wow.
Which is a huge bonus.
Now here she comes. All by herself.
And helping to bring nourishing meals to families in need.
Bring her in, Amanda.
You know, it's not the most exciting to watch, but it's such a great place to be. All by herself, the second year in a row, Catherine DeBurner, the 2024 Bank of America Chicago Marathon champion.
All right. Well, way to go. I mean, and did she, we don't know just yet if she broke the record. She was on pace to do it with a nice little bonus, as you mentioned. We will find out shortly if she did break the course record. Do we know where 2 and 3 are is the question. See if we can find out if Susanna Scarona is still in the mix, if Manuela Schar is in the mix. We'll get some information about that. We had some wonderful folks working behind the scenes with us, keeping track of all of our runners. All right, now we are going to check in with the men's elite group. What are you seeing here, Ed?
Well, continuing to see pack of 7 men now running, and they're up and challenging the pace setter, and it looks like we've got somebody who wants to take the lead over the pace setter. The pace setter's done an admirable job. He's kept them at 2:04 pace, and right now we've got a new leader moving into the lead. I'm trying, the reason why we saw them spreading out right there, they're going for their water bottles, and it's amazing, and that's it. Issa, for the first time, we're seeing him take the lead, and part of that was just at 30K here as they get their water bottles. He was moving forward, he was accelerating so he could get access to his bottle. But sometimes that also tells you how they're feeling, the fact that they can accelerate, they can pick up their bottle running fast, and now, but I think he's also now tucked himself back in now that he's come.
He is a big name, though, Mohamed Issa.
And we have not even talked about him so far.
Second in the Boston Marathon this last spring. I mean, he's just kind of sitting on the heels of all these athletes, maybe just waiting for the right moment. But he is a huge name, and it was kind of fun to just see him up there because it is such a big pack. It's so different than the women's race.
So often it's the guys you don't talk about for the first 3/4 of the marathon that end up coming on strong at the end. And the fact that he could accelerate, grab his bottle like that, and then ensconce himself back in the pack is a good sign for Asa fans.
What are they grabbing when they grab their water bottle? I'm always fascinated by their nutrition. What's going into what they're taking in?
Well, it's just a carbohydrate electrolyte mix. It's usually about 6% carbohydrate solution. Back in the old days, we would just use de-fizz Coca-Cola, and which was about 6% carbohydrate. Now they're a little bit more high-tech. We have potassium, magnesium, all kinds of electrolytes in there to help boost them through. Some of them just take water, and then they'll take a gel that will have a more concentrated kind of glycogen mixture in there that they'll take on. But everybody has their own water bottles that they're comfortable with, that they have their elite fluids in.
All right. They are making their way. I'm not exactly sure, and we just lost, looks like we lost some pictures. So let's check in on Ruth Chepngetich. She is still all by herself and apparently on a pretty good pace here, Carrie.
Yeah, I mean, it's no surprise to see her by herself, but I do think it's just so interesting how much she relies on those pacers, as we can see her going, just even grabbing normal water, not quite able to catch it, which I don't love, because that does show your coordination and maybe your focus. She got it, right? But it took her 3 times. She is really moving fast, though, to try to grab those waters. But yes, she is all on her own. And as I said, she is one that trains by herself. She just went through mile 18. That's right around 30K at 4:59. So she's just been hitting 4:59, 4:58, 4:59. She is still under world record pace.
Wow, I want to ask you some more questions about her training for herself. But first, we want to go to the finish line and Alex Maragos, who is with our men's champion, Marcel Hoog. Alex?
Marion, thanks. Marcel Hoog 5 times now winning the Chicago Marathon. How did this one feel, Marcel?
Feels incredible. Very, very happy, very satisfied. It was a beautiful day for the marathon today with good conditions, great atmosphere, and for me it was really tough. It was a tactical race. I attacked countless times, and then we had a finish sprint, and luckily, I won.
It was certainly not your easiest win here. You really had to work. You were not all alone at the end or anything like that. You said on Friday, if I win here, I have to beat Daniel. Yes. He was with you. He was with you all the way again today.
Yeah, it was a big challenge today with Daniel. He was very strong. I had to work very hard, attack so many times. Didn't work. He was always following, and but in the end, I was a little bit surprised because in the uphill he usually is stronger, but this time, luckily I was better sprint, and then good finish.
You have proven that you could win anywhere in the world, any time of year, any kind of course. What did having the Paralympics and winning that marathon in August bring to your preparation for Chicago?
It was quite challenging, honestly, because the focus was totally on the Paris Paralympics. Trained hard to this. Afterwards, I was very exhausted, also mentally. But luckily I could keep up the focus again, the motivation for Chicago and all the fall marathons. And I mean, it's always great to compete here in the Chicago Marathon. So it means a lot and gives a lot of energy and motivation.
Marcel, thank you so much for joining us here today. Congratulations, and hope to see you back for a 6th, we hope, challenging next year. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Back to you guys.
All right, thanks so much, Alex. We always like to have our champions come back, and he's so impressive. All right, we're back to Ruth Chepngetich. Question about her training herself. Carrie, what does that tell you? How in the world do you do that? I think that would be so difficult to do.
Yeah, I mean, she's been doing it for quite some time, and she has these male pace setters, so she writes her own plans. She runs about 105, 110 miles a week on 6 days a week. So she takes Sundays off. She's a mom, she's a businesswoman. She has all these goals in mind, and she just gets it done. There are more athletes now, and Ed can speak on this. Yes, there are a lot of women and men that have coaches, but there's also a lot of people that take what they've learned and they've made their own plans, and they've done really well with it.
What do you think about that, Ed?
Yeah, no, I think, I was, as an athlete, I was self-coached for about 3/4 of my career as well. You tend to pick up things along and if you're doing this for 10, 15 years, then you kind of see what other elites are doing, and you kind of incorporate that. I always liked, though, thinking back on my career, the times when I did have a coach or at least a close training companion that I could bounce ideas off of and make sure that I wasn't either overdoing it, underdoing it, and that I was pacing my, doing my pre-race strategy correctly.
Yeah, that makes sense. Just to have someone that's kind of an outside eye checking you out from an objective point of view versus you trying to make sure you're on track. Okay, Ruth is 1 minute and 57 seconds ahead of her next competitor, Situme Kebede. So it's her race right now.
Yeah, at 30K, so they still have about 12K to go.
So they got a ways to go, but still, we'll see. She's been pretty consistent. All right, who are we looking at now? Let's take a look at the men. The Pacers look like they've fallen.
Yeah, this is a big point because the Pacers are now there, and now the real racing begins. And with the real racing, we have Korir looking good. John Korir, again, he has run so well here at Chicago in the past, getting 3rd here, getting 4th here. And then the man who is right on his heels, Amos Kipruto in the dark blue, Mr. Consistency, always runs well, always finds a way to get on the podium at these World Marathon Majors. And I believe that's Asa in 3rd place, also with the arm sleeves, looking very good at this point in time. We haven't talked a lot about Asa, but he was the one at the last water stop that moved out. What has he done? Well, he was only 2nd at the Boston Marathon in 2024. He's run 2:06:58, and the last mile 20, they ran in 4:37. So the reason why we're seeing a disintegration of this pack a little bit is they are picking up the pace, running a 4:37 for mile 20.
I like how you say the race is now really on. This is always when it gets extremely exciting, and when I guess the tactics. This is a different level of tactical race at this point. Ed?
Yeah. I mean, I often say you can divide the marathon into 2 equal halves: the first 20 miles and the last 6, because everything is kind of preamble to the real racing, that last final 10K where the gloves come off and they really can start duking it out. Now the paces are out of the way, and we're seeing who is it that wants to keep the pace going. And right now, now the man who wants to keep that pace rolling along is John Korir.
Real quick, I want to send a shout out. We have some folks behind the scenes that are giving us a lot of the times and making sure we know the splits and things like that. Dorian Kale from the New York Marathon always focuses us really well in the wheelchair. Jay Holder, who I call the encyclopedia of running, bringing up all the times and keeping track of everybody. And Mary Kate Shea from the Boston Marathon. They always provide such tremendous support. The more eyes, the better, as we can see. Ed is making motions with his hands. I'm trying to interpret that.
That means that John Korir is putting some pace in, and we know they ran the last mile in 4:36. That's stretched it out. My guess would be that if we look at this next mile, that is another fast one, because suddenly it's gone from a pack of 7 people to a pack of 1.
That was fast.
with some chasers behind him. So I'm glad we were able to catch this. And it looks like the guy who's leading the chase pack now is Amos Kipruto.
I like, though, John Korir this year. He's been winning his races. He came in this year with his tune-ups. We call them tune-ups. They're final races. He ran Falmouth in August. He won there. He was first in the Utica 15K. But last year, he was second in both of those races. So when you've been 4th and 3rd here, you got a chip on your shoulder. You want to break that tape. And he seems like the guy that really is going for it, obviously breaking this open.
Yeah, and he put a little distance there, that's for sure.
He has. And when you're in that chase pack, you haven't given up at this point in time. For one, you're wanting to beat those guys that are right around you, and you know that things happen over the last 5 or 6 miles in the marathon. And so if you can hang tight, sometimes you can weather the storm and come storming back if John Korir gets a hiccup here.
Do you like when the athletes take off at this moment? I mean, there's still time to be run, so it's nerve-wracking for me. If he's feeling good, go for it, or do you say sit
6
and
miles
relax?
is still a long way to go, isn't it? And there's so much, and this is about the time. You talk about the wall that's in the marathon. Well, obviously these guys train so that they can bust through that wall, but there is a point where you start exhausting the glycogen that's in your muscles, the glycogen, the energy that's used to do muscle contractions and to move fast at the end of the race. And right now, he is burning some glycogen, but he is opening up some time. It would be nice if we can get to Galen and talk to him and see what's
You're right.
going on
Let's see
there.
if we can hook up with Galen and see what he's observing about John Korir. We're going to do that right after we hit a break and try to check in and see who the person who is closest to him. He's on the camera that is following John Korir. We'll get back to Galen Rupp in just a moment so he can give us his rundown of what he thinks John Korir is doing right now. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more with our reporters that are out on the course. We'll see what's going on. We're going to start in just a few minutes with Matt Rodriguez and Courtney Hall. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with the 46th running of the Bank of America Chicago Marathon.
We're here at the halfway point cheering on the runners, 16,000 of them running for charity. Did you know the Chicago Marathon is the largest single day of giving in Illinois?
That is right. Last year, they raised over $30 million for charity during the Chicago Marathon. And later in the show, we're actually going to highlight some of the amazing charity runners from this year's run. But until then, let's head on over to Pilsen with our girl, Lexi Suter.
Good morning from Pilsen. This is one of the most festive neighborhoods along the marathon course. One of the 29 neighborhoods that runners will be making their way through this morning. We'll have more from Pilsen later in this broadcast. It's a special spot because it's mile 20. They're providing that last extra lift for runners. But let's head out to Chinatown, where Kate Chappell is standing by.
I am just past mile mark 21 under the iconic Chinatown Gate. This is where many runners start to hit that proverbial wall, but it's also where so many spectators, family, and friends gather to cheer on their runners. You can't miss the traditional lion dancers. In total, more than 2 million people are lining the course this morning.
The 2025 Bank of America Chicago Distance Series is a wonderful opportunity for runners of all levels to get involved in the local running community. The Chicago Distance Series is made up of 3 premier racing events: the Shamrock Shuffle 8K Run, Chicago 3.1, and the Chicago Marathon. Individuals who register for and finish all events in 2025 will receive a unique medal once they cross the finish line at the Chicago Marathon. The Shamrock Shuffle kicks off the outdoor running season in March of 2025 with a festive atmosphere in downtown Chicago. The Chicago 3.1, held in June, weaves through historic parks and neighborhoods on the west side. And the Chicago Marathon wraps up the local racing season as the culminating event for 50,000 participants. For more information on the Chicago Distance Series, visit chicagomarathon.com.
Such great opportunities to hit the roadways. And as we take a look at John Korir, who is in the lead with the men's professional runners, we're going to send it down to Alex Maragos and our women's wheelchair champion for the second year in a row, Catherine DeBrunner. Alex?
A wonderful repeat win and a course record unofficially here with Catherine DeBrunner. Catherine, congratulations. How did that feel to get your back-to-back second in a row here in Chicago?
Yeah, I was super excited to come back here to Chicago. I really liked that marathon here. It was just really unfortunate that Susanna got a flat tire really early. That's never nice. But it was a really tough race. There was a lot of wind. And of course, it's always tough when you do all yourself. And I struggled quite often. So I was really happy when I was in the finish.
That's the thing about these marathons. You make them look easy. We know they are not easy, especially coming off of 5 wins at the Paralympics, 5 gold medals, everything from the 400 all the way through the marathon. How do you look on this year and assess what you've done and think about all you've accomplished?
Yeah, this year has been like a fairy tale, to be honest. With the Paralympics, which was the big goal of this year. It was all about the Paralympics. We planned everything for it. And we know it's going to be a super long season with the marathon straight after the game. So we are all tired. But I'm really grateful to be here. We had a really strong women's field, a strong men's field. And that's amazing to show the world our strong fields.
You have not been able to take a vacation, a holiday this year because you've been so busy winning. Can you now finally relax and take a little bit of a break?
Yes, this was my last effort of this year. I will go for holiday when I come home, and I'm really looking forward to give my body and also my mind some rest to also process this whole year.
Well, Catherine, congratulations on a new course record and another win here in Chicago. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Back to you guys.
All right, thanks so much, Alex. I was wondering if she was going to make her way to New York, and she's not. I can understand. It's a well-deserved rest. She has been amazing this season. Now we're going to check in on our leading woman throughout the entire race and continues, Ruth Chepngetich, and still looking pretty strong, huh, Carrie?
She looks really strong. She had a couple slower miles, but slower in terms of just what her pace is, 5:07, 5:02. This woman is on pace to do something that I never really thought I would see in a lifetime until we saw last fall in Berlin when Tagisa Sefa ran 2:11. She is well under 2:10 pace, people. Wow. She's on 2:09.09. We want to cheer her on so much to see something that is, it's almost like seeing someone land on the moon. Remember way back in the day, I had a friend just say that to me. He said, it's like landing on the moon. This is something we've never seen.
That's how I felt last year when we saw Kelvin Kiptum with all those negative splits and come in almost under 2. It's one of those, you're right, this is remarkable athleticism.
To break 2:10 would be equivalent to breaking 2 hours, maybe even better than that. For a woman to break 2:10 would be like a man breaking 2 hours. So this is historic stuff that we're watching right now.
2:11.53 is that world record. The next one is the course record here, 2:13.44 by Sifan Hassan, the woman that won gold in Paris. So yes, what Ruth Chepngetich is doing right now is crazy. I mean, that's really the only word that comes to mind right now. We've seen her run this hard before, but look at here. I like that she's able to grab her water. I know it seems silly, right? But to be able to go over, get the right bottle, be able to grab the water, whatever it is, she still has her wits with her, right? Like when you get this far into the race, sometimes you get foggy. Sometimes you get a little bit where you don't really know what's happening. She looks like she is well aware of what's happening around her. She is in Chinatown. It's loud there, and she knows she's getting close to home.
That, you know, and hopefully that'll help give her a little bit of spirit. You know, when you hear those crowds as you come through, hopefully it'll help her out. All right, now we're losing a little bit of our signal, but this is I think our men's leader right here, Ed. This is
Zach Panning.
Zach Panning, he's the American leader. He's on 2:07.14 pace. He came through 35K at 1:45.32, which puts him at 1:07.14. So he is slowing a little bit, but he's still getting his form together. This would be a big PR for him. He's running his PR's at 2:09.28, so he's a couple of minutes ahead of that. But he's got some hard running ahead. And then on the split screen above, you can see John Korir, who is our leader, who's just blown away that chase pack, that group of maybe 7 runners that were together. The reason why? His 22nd mile was run at 4:22. 4:22. Zach Panning is 9th place, I've just been told, on 2:07.14 pace. And up front, we got John Korir still holding it together, ran a 4:22 22nd mile.
Thank you so much, Carrie, for some of that insight as to where your brain is as you're making your way. So the fact that Ruth Chepngetich is able to do what she does is that's the kind of background information that we don't know when you don't run, that helps us understand what they're going through. And it is good to see. Here she is. Here's Ruth Chepngetich. It's great to see the American doing pretty well. 9th place is nothing to sneeze at in this race, right?
Well, and he's on a pace that would put him a minute ahead of his PR. 2:07. He'd be very happy with that.
We know that the American women, Susanna Sullivan, is still in the lead there, and she is still on that fast pace of 2:20. So giving a shout out to her, having a great day.
All right, we're going to try to get back and get a look at Susanna in the women's race as well. Right now, though, we want to check in with Stefan Holt, who has some very special guests with him.
Indeed, Marion. Thank you very much. Here with Emily Sisson, the current American women's record holder, and Joan Benoit Samuelson, another American record holder, joining us here to talk about the women's field, especially the American women that we're watching. Emily, I'll start with you because you're the current record holder.
Yeah.
Who are you watching now in the women?
Well, Susanna Sullivan's on 2:20 pace. I've been keeping my eye on her, seeing Betsy, Emma. Looks like they're all kind of close to each other, probably keying off each other and working together. It's a beautiful day here today, so I'm sure they'll close strong and close fast. But yeah, I'm excited. It's a great day for running.
We've lucked out with the weather out here.
Oh,
I know it's a little breezy out there, Joni, right now. Who are you watching?
Well, I'm watching everybody because this is such a great race, but I'm very impressed with Susanna's race at this point in the game. And Emma came in with a bit of an injury that she'd been overcoming, and she's running right there with Susanna. So I think it looks like a great finish for the American woman. And then Lindsay Flanagan's up there, too.
It's been a phenomenal race to watch, and of course, Chicago's just a spectacular course. But I'm curious, this being an Olympic year, I know we talked to Carrie Pinkowski about this, trying to recruit people to come and run this race. Take us through that athlete perspective when you're making decisions whether to run in the Olympics, whether to run in a race like Chicago. How do you make that decision?
Well, from the athlete perspective, it's great because we have our Olympic trials in February. But if you don't make the team, or if you get an injury or a sickness or just something's off on the day, it's so nice we can just set our eyes to something else. Like there's always something else around the corner in our sport, which is so great. So if you're getting over one disappointment, you can just look forward to the next fall marathon or the spring marathon. So yeah, these women, I feel like they were looking forward to this, and they're leaving it all out there.
Absolutely. I mean, running fast paces right there. And of course, something to look forward to. Joni, I can't help but reflect, this is 40 years since your barrier-breaking run in Los Angeles.
You're aging me.
But talk about, how are you reflecting on that run?
It just doesn't seem like it was 40 years ago. It seems like it was, maybe 3 years ago when Emily was taking over the American record. I remember that moment so vividly because I was here, Dina was here, and Kiara was here, and we all wanted to just descend upon Emily because we were so excited for her. And this year I have a daughter running, so it makes it even more exciting.
Special moment.
Yes.
What was that like to have Joan Benoit Samuelson coming down to congratulate you?
It was like something out of a dream. Like I still look back on those pictures and I get just butterflies, and that happened years ago. But it's so special, and just seeing these women, how supportive they are and how incredible they are to the next generation. Like I just hope I can be even like a percentage of that to the next generation as well, and show that going forward, because yeah, it's been incredible to receive that.
You both have done so much for the sport, but you've also done so much here in Chicago. We talk about it being flat and fast, of course, but there's got to be something else. What is another factor about Chicago that really lends this to being such a great competition?
I think it's the Carey factor. Carey surrounds himself by a really great team, and what's so great about Chicago is it's a marathon for runners by runners. They really understand the runners' needs and their psyches, and it just makes for a really great event. It's October, it's Chicago.
Are we going to see you back here in Chicago soon?
Oh yeah.
All right, Emily, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Let's send things back to Alex Maragos. Alex.
Hey, Stefan, thanks so much. Here with Daniel Romanchuk, our second place in the men's wheelchair division, a man who's won here 3 times and knows Chicago very well. Daniel, congrats on a great race, and thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you. It's great to be here again.
That was neck and neck. You guys really battled it out. I had Marcel here a couple of minutes ago, and he said it was so hard fought. How did you view this race and your performance today?
Oh, it's a great morning. Actually, quite warm for Chicago this time of year. So I woke up and really wasn't exactly sure what I was going to wear. But overall, a great day, and yeah, lots of pretty small pack. A couple miles in, and yeah, so just kind of a lot of back and forth.
What about this course specifically? Because you race all over the world, you're fresh off a gold medal in the Paralympics in the 5,000 meters. What about this course lets you perform at your best, and you've won 3 times?
Oh, I really love coming back to Chicago. Living in Champaign, only 2 hours away, it kind of is like a home marathon.
What do you think about going forward? Because you won in Boston back in 2022, you've won here, and of course you've had success all over the world. What do you try to think about as you push your career forward? Because you're still very young, 26 years old.
Really? I just try and take things just a race at a time, and not look too far ahead. Just look what's next. Just again, just concentrate on just what's next, and don't get too caught up with everything.
Daniel, a wonderful performance today, going neck and neck. What a battle. It was a pleasure to watch. Thanks for joining us here again.
Great to be here. Thank you.
Marion, back to you.
All right, thanks so much, Alex.